it's coming up now. Woohoo! Yes, we're on. We did it again. One more time. All right. I think we're live on YouTube. Well, hello and welcome to everybody. If you're catching this on the replay, make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Click that bell so you're notified whenever I go live to hang out with you, talk about Power BI, answer some of your questions, and of course, subscribe to us over email as well. That way you get a notification as well. And of course, we have, first of all, our students or Learn Power BI members on the phone. I'm going to greet them. Some I don't see the name. I think they've dialed in using the phone. So I see Jeff, Juan, Tom, and Tomas, if I'm saying it right. Welcome to all. So today we have a special topic that I'm going to kick off with, but let's just check in and see how everybody's doing. So if you're joining us on YouTube, let us know where you're watching us from. And where you're watching us from, just let us know kind of the audio, video is working and that sort of stuff. All right, so I'm gonna pop into the chat window and see how everybody's doing. All right. So Jeff is saying at least an audio on the GoToMeeting sounds great, perfect. Oh, Darryl has a question, I believe. All right, Jen is here. Jen, always good to see you there. So, sunny Chicago. I hope that's not ironic or sarcastic. No, I'm sure it's sunny in Chicago. I know summer is gorgeous there, and this is pretty close to summer. Are we officially in summer? I don't think we are. But either way, yeah, Seattle's different. It warms up and then it cools down. You never really know. Oh, yeah, you did say finally sunny Chicago. That's great. Glad to hear that. Gosh, I still think about the time when I was in Chicago and we just kind of missed each other. I know you were trying to get there to our meetup. Hi, hello from Netherlands, Bas D. Darryl says greetings from Philadelphia, PA area, and gosh, you've been so nice. And from the voices in my head, I'm not sure what that's about. Loretta Sue says she can hear me. That's awesome. Audio's okay. Carla is here. Woohoo! Yeah, it's kind of I didn't really know that. Yeah, Google just asks you to set up a profile. Darryl, no questions. Statements for discussion. Oh yes. I'm hoping here from Charlottesville, Virginia. George Keane. Paul is here from Estonia. High five, my friend. Barnhart from the Twin Cities. Is that Minnesota and what's the other one? I think, as far as I know, there are like a few places in U.S. which have the Twin Cities title. Or maybe that's just me. All right, summer starts in June 21st. So close, my friend. All right, wow, I couldn't have timed it perfectly. So, folks, side note, we're headed to Banff, and on June 22nd, and we are going to be there for 10 days. And let me just show you the pictures. Gosh, so obviously these are not my pictures. I haven't been there yet, but look at this stuff. It's just incredible. So we're excited about this. Banff, by the way, I've been meaning to go there for like 2 decades. There was an Indian Bollywood movie. By the way, they shoot all their songs. The songs where the hero and the heroine are singing and dancing around the streets. Yep, that still happens in the Bollywood movies. Now the cool kids, pretty much all the movies, all the big ones at least, they always shoot these overseas in some exotic location. And they say, oh, it's somewhere in India. Anyway, so I saw a band in a movie 2 decades ago. I think the movie was Koi Mil Gaya for the Bollywood fans. Hrithik Roshan, beautiful role, amazing role. Oh man, I love that movie. And they showed a lake which was supposed to be in Nainital, India. I mean, in the movie, they're in Nainital, India. And I'm like, no way, that's Nainital. That's way too pretty. So I researched, and this was kind of, the internet wasn't really a thing, at least back then in India. And somebody told me it's Banff. And I'm like, okay. So anyway, we're headed there, so we're pretty excited. All right, so I digress, my friends. I don't know one of you distracted me. But today, So guys, I found something. I figured something out 2 days ago. I solved something which I've been grappling with for so long. I can't tell you, it's crazy. And I couldn't wait but share it with you. So if you noticed, we just changed. Like yesterday, I was working with my team, Marianne, who's on watching us as well. And she changed up everything. It's like, oh yeah, Marianne, this is the new topic. This is what I want to talk about. So it's big in my life, and you can judge whether it's big or not. I was like, Avi, really? Yeah, this is what you were obsessing about? Okay, so Darryl is saying, I think it's important to distinguish between different types of Power BI expertise and hence different types of Power BI consultants. Ooh, yeah, that's really interesting. So let me go back to some of your earlier comments. So those who are leading UI UX visualization, those who are leading data modelers, those who are using data analytics, those who do all three well. Yeah, that's true. You're right. I've painted it with a broad brush stroke. Those who do data modeling, yeah. I'll say that. Frankly, the life I've kind of so initially when I was starting out, even within inside a company, there were barely any Power BI people around. I didn't know another person really. I'm sure they were there in Microsoft. I just didn't know them, right? So it wasn't that big. So I was the only guy, and yeah, I was doing it all. And since then, I have been kind of company of one, although we're going to talk about that. So yeah, I kind of do it all. Now, of course, I do have my area of expertise within that. I realize that, which is under the hood. So that's a good one. I do want to come back and talk about that more. All right, folks. So let's kick off with this topic, and then if you have any specific Power BI questions on the phone or on YouTube, we'll take those. So whatever technical stuff you want, of course, if you're joining us on the phone, then you can share your screen and we can talk and all that sort of stuff. But I do want to talk about this. So the statement or the problem that I was grappling with was simply this. And sometimes these things pop in my head, right? There's another one which, by the way, I haven't solved. Now, another one that is in progress is this statement: helping one person is fundamentally the same, is no different than helping a million. I'm still working on that. I mean, I kind of feel it, but I'll maybe come back and touch on a little bit on the progress that I've made. But this one, I think I solved it. All right, so the statement popped in my head. So I have lived the corporate life, 9 to 5, all of that. Did that for close to 2 decades. Gosh, Lucent, AOL, Washington Mutual Bank, WAMU, Microsoft. There were some other companies before that. There was Hughes in India. There was Prudential briefly, and so forth. So, small stints. But on the face of it, this sounds just impossible. I mean, like, Avi, what are you smoking, mate? What are you really smoking? Just say it right now. I mean, you really think that consulting 9 to 5 in the life that I'm living right now is fundamentally the same as the 9 to 5? What does that mean? So I'll walk you through. I'll walk you through kind of my exploration, because you need to see it to get my answer. So hold on to this thought. So that's what we're trying to solve for. Hey, can I do a split screen here? Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. And we'll make this up as we go. All right. So here we have. Oops. What did I do? I don't want to do that. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay, and folks, I'm going to put you on mute. All right. So again, stay with the statement: working 9 to 5 versus working a freelance consultant. So let me start with my life in Microsoft. So I joined Microsoft after having lost my job in the big financial meltdown in US. Washington Mutual Bank was sold to Chase in pretty much a fire sale, pennies on the dollar, even that, right? And man, it was devastating. And of course, I had a lot of money invested in the Washington Mutual Bank stock, and I've definitely learned my lessons. I mean, I saw it kind of lower down. I'm like, I think it used to be like $30 or something, and then it halved to 15. I'm like, well, how much more can it fall? Well, it turns out a whole long way. And I sold it. It was still selling after these guys. Hey, Juan, just go on mute unless you're kind of talking to me. Otherwise, sometimes there's a little bit of echo or something. All right, cool. So after the whole bank was shut down and everything, and everybody was getting ready to be laid off, we the stock was oddly still selling for literally pennies, like 1, 2, 3 pennies. So I sold all my stock. But anyway, that was the least of it. So I always talk about that. I think that being laid off or going through that is often devastating because we craft our identity around what we do. So we're like, oh, hi, I'm Avi. I'm a business analyst at Washington Mutual. And that becomes you. So when they take that away from you, you not only lose your job, in a way you lose your identity. So here I was asking myself, looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, who the fuck am I? Like, what am I? What am I worth? All of these questions kind of start laying. And of course, the answers aren't good at that time either. Because the answers you're giving yourself is, I'm worth shit, right? I mean, boy, I'm so useless. I've spent so many years in IT. Look where I am. I lost my job. All of that sort of stuff that goes on in your head. So that was really hard. Now, of course, I was lucky. I would say I was lucky. I landed in Microsoft. Now, Microsoft still is, I think always, certainly was, even when I joined, one of the best big companies to work for. And probably more so now under the helm of Satya. I keep talking to folks in that Microsoft. It's a great company, right? Great company. And yeah, I enjoyed my time there. I met a lot of awesome people. And throughout, same for the career. So I don't have like, I wouldn't say like any angst for the 9 to 5. I mean, that was kind of okay. But yeah, I mean, there were good times, bad times, just like everywhere else, right? So it was all right. But there was something going on inside of me. There was some part of me which was saying, man, I lost my job once. I'm never going to lose it again. Now, of course, I was not being fair to myself, because that's not how layoffs work. I couldn't control the financial meltdown, right? That was not in my control. But we often do that, right? So, yeah, there I was saying that. Oh, and again, I mean, frankly, many years later did I realize that, that's what I was saying to myself. I didn't know it then. I was like, I'm focused on my work. That's it. But now when I look back, I realize that I was like, oh, no, I'm never going to lose my job again. And guys, this was doubly hard because just as I was laid off, we were expecting our daughter to be born. She was born in December 2008. And she's a second child. And I was like, I had all these plans. And the first, my son, I was kind of busy. This time I'm going to be really focused and really watch them grow. And it didn't quite happen. I was sucked into Microsoft. And so I told my wife that, hey, just give me 1 year. All right, I mean, the first year is always tough. Give me 1 year. And the 1 year turned into 3. And after that, I didn't make a change. I switched groups within Microsoft. That made a difference. But yeah, it was not the life. I didn't create that by intention, right? I just kind of let it happen. I let my outside circumstances control me. Now, I want to talk about some things in Microsoft culture which were hard to escape from. So if somebody's saying to me that, Avi, they're fundamentally the same, I'm like, no, that's bullshit, because this was Microsoft. So Microsoft, the title actually didn't matter. And I want to say kudos to Microsoft for creating that culture. So managers are the typical path to kind of rise up in the company. But you can be an individual contributor as well and rise up. You wouldn't have any people reporting to you. And the way you rise is there are these levels. So, of course, anybody who's been or around Microsoft knows that. And so yeah, I don't know where the levels start. I don't know, 50, maybe they go to 90 or something like that, something crazy. I didn't know somebody. And so nobody really talks about levels. It's kind of like one of those, kind of like salary. So people don't really talk about it. But yeah, so I don't even remember where I was. I think it was somewhere in the 60s, but that's all you thought about. That's all there was. It was like, gosh, how do I go from like 60 to 61? And how long does it take? It takes about 3 years. Oh gosh, it's been 3 years and I'm not doing well. My manager didn't give level me up, give me a bump, and do I switch? And they had these rules. Oh gosh, these guys are good, right? They trap you. So if you changed across groups, I hope they changed it now, because I think it was not a fair rule. You could only do what was called a lateral move. So if you were at level 60, you couldn't go find a level 62 job. You just couldn't. They wouldn't let you. They would make you require like a double layer of approval. Satya needs to approve you or something crazy like that, right? Not Satya, but still double layers of approval. So it almost never happened. So it was this game you played every year. You were angling for this level up, and if you got it, great, obviously. But if you didn't get it, like, oh shoot, and then you kind of checked your options, and there was this timing, right? So I think the calendar ran from July through June and something like that, and so if you didn't get it, then everybody would, kind of quarter one, everybody would be like looking to change jobs and so forth. So, and everybody was doing it. And of course, now I don't have any of that shit. Like, who the F cares about levels? I don't care about that, right? So that's I was trapped there. And then there was other stuff. So Chi Lu, great guy, amazing leader, was leading the Bing team at that time, and I was part of Microsoft Commerce under Chi Lu. Now, I was many levels away from Chi Lu. I never spoke to him directly, I think. But here's the thing, guys. So there was one thing I was reading it, and they was saying that the culture. So they were actually talking about workaholism. And I think I can use that word, workaholism. If you don't say it carefully, it starts sounding like a different word. Workaholism. Okay, so workaholism, they said it not only trickles down. Boy, this really makes you think. It amplifies. It amplifies as it trickles down. So we would hear stuff like this. And they'll say, hey, do you know that Shilu only sleeps 4 hours a day? And they would actually say it that way. They would say it in this hushed voice. And I'm like, why the heck are you whispering? Right? But imagine that. So if people are walking around the hallways saying to each other that, hey, do you know Chilu sleeps 4 hours a day? I'm like, what the F does that mean? I mean, is that what I'm expected to do? Is that where the bar has been set? That's crazy. But guys, I mean, if you're living in that environment, how the heck do you escape it, right? So you're telling me that working 9 to 5 is the same as working freelancer? I don't give two hoots of who sleeps how many hours. I'm like, hey, I live my own life now. But so that was there. But again, we're gonna come back to this. Are they the same? I'll tell you another story. So this one is funny. Oh boy, this one is hilarious. So I was, I think I had completed the first year in my job in Microsoft, and so you're getting to hear a lot of stories today. I completed my first year at Microsoft, and we would go to a company event, and we loved doing that and so forth. All right, Dallas, some good comments. I'll come back to that. This guy. So there was a person on our team who was pretty senior and who had risen through the ranks pretty fast. So we were going to this company event, and he was, he just say, hey, Avi, just checking in, man. It's been a year. How's the experience been? And I was like, well, it's kind of been hard. It's kind of been pretty busy. It's pretty intense, this, that. So I kind of opened up to him a little bit. And he said, you know what? Come to think of it, yeah, I think my first few years were pretty busy as well. Yeah, and I knew he had done well, but he then went on to say that, yeah, and maybe there was a factor in me getting divorced. And I'm like, holy cow, shoot, this guy is like many years into his career, and yeah, sure, he's doing well, but is that what I have to look forward to? Because I knew he was still working really hard and long, and get divorced, right? So yeah, and again, Darryl has a good point that you can't generalize it. So I would admit, I should tell the other side of the story. So after 3 years, I switched to a different team, and Microsoft, in such a big company, it's a company of companies. You have to realize that. It's not just one culture. So that was one lens, but then I switched to a different team, and the work culture was really different. By the way, guys, it was interesting when I was switching to the team, and we had talked about this, and an interesting factoid, that the men to woman ratio, actually there were more women on that team. Now, of course, this is not scientific at all, and I'm not saying it. And again, correlation is not causation. Right? Just because that was there didn't mean they caused it, but it's possible. It's possible that brings some balance, which is needed. I mean, we are frankly more efficient when we're not, totally consuming our work. All right, cool. So Darryl's point taken. That it's not. But my friend, 2 decades, and I've talked to my friends. This is not unusual. And again, we'll come back to it, like how they're fundamentally the same, possibly. But these experiences, I don't think they're unusual. I don't think they're uncommon at all. So I left Microsoft, and I'll admit, it was different. So I hang out with a bunch of entrepreneurs who do a bunch of different things, and that is pretty empowering, in the sense that you look at people and they're like these yoga coaches, meditation gurus, performance coaches, business coaches. They're somewhat guiding somebody in a different way. So that's a common thread that binds us all. But they have built successful businesses almost pretty much doing anything under the sun. There was a card that I used to save, which was my favorite. And she was she called herself the kayaking CPA. She was a CPA who focused on the facilities that rent out kayaks. That's it. That's all she did. So you step into this amazing world where kind of everything is possible. And of course, when I contrast that with my school, at least growing up in India, you only had two choices. You either could be a doctor or an engineer. And, well, I kind of fell through the cracks, I guess. But yeah, right? So now I stepped out and it's like, wow, there are so many ways for one to make money, to be successful, but live the life you want. I mean, almost all of these people had this thread that, hey, you kind of control your own life. So, just to put some sharp contrast into this, right? So, to challenge the statement. And again, I'm going to come back to it. So, this is my conclusion eventually, right? That they are fundamentally the same. But again, sometimes it seems so hard to grasp it, and that's what I was struggling with it, because I was looking at my life, and I was talking to somebody else, and I mentioned that, yeah, I get up in the morning and I go for a walk with my dog, and they just were enamored by it. And again, I just still don't get it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but for them, it was just kind of awesome, right? I mean, like, oh man, I wish I could have that life, right? And I remember my life. I mean, typical morning, you got rushing to work, grab a toast and that sort of stuff. And I was like, oh man, if I didn't have to do all of that, I didn't have to rush to work and, spend time in the commute, if I could just go out and go for a walk with the dog. That seems like an awesome life, right? So I walk the dog. I go to the dog park. I love it. If you follow me on Facebook, I've been starting to post stories. It's just, oh gosh, going to the dog park, just watching her play with other dog. It's, oh my God, it's the best therapy you can get. It's just so much happiness around, right? So that's been great. Of course, being able to get her dog, that's a whole different story, which kind of correlates with that. And if some of you have heard that story, there's that the kind of the story that talks about how you fill your life first with the bigger rocks and then put the small rocks in. If you put the small rocks first, then you're not going to have space for the big rocks, right? So big rocks, small rocks. It's a whole story. I kind of totally messed it up, but you get the idea. So yeah, so for me, the big rocks are kind of family and travel. That's pretty simple. And so the way I structure my year is, I kind of put family first and travel first, and then everything else fits into that. And for me, it's almost hard to recall when it wasn't this way. And it wasn't, I know for sure. This wasn't first, right? And all that. So yeah, it's a very different life, and I'm not chasing levels, competition. I don't have this around me. I don't have somebody, kind of whispering in my ear about the work culture somewhere. So I'll tell you one other story here. That so Microsoft had these ratings of 1 through 5, and they flipped it. Earlier, 5 I think used to be the highest, and 1 was highest. Craziness. And one of my friends said, and again, these are the kind of things we say, and guys, words have power because they create a reality. So the way we talk is the way we think, or we start thinking, and then once I share it with you, it's kind of a contagious thing. So imagine somebody saying this. They said that you can tell the rating based on the dark circles under the eyes. Wow, right? I mean, so you said, yeah, oh gosh, yeah, she got a 1. Oh man, you could see her, like, So you're spending so many late hours. And yeah, again, it's like a big company, so things were different everywhere. But this is corporate America. So when I contrast this life, it feels so different. How can it be the same? So, folks, today's episode is brought to you by, sponsored by, no, just kidding, is inspired by the book called Company of One. This book has changed my life. It's changing my life. It's already done it. It's like a big shift in the last few days. I haven't even read the whole book. Frankly, like the first chapter just shook me awake. So here's what was really going on. And again, sometimes we get caught in there, we can't see it, right? Looking at yourself is like reading the label on the wine bottle while being inside the wine bottle. Kind of hard, right? So I couldn't see it. So in this new world, where there's freelancing, entrepreneurs, BBD, and all that sort of stuff, right? We are all free spirits here. We're not chasing levels. We're not chasing any of that. But we do see people we're doing a lot, having a big impact. By the way, success is really simple, right? So first of all, what they did was they tried to fix our what we call kind of a money block. So coming from India, man, I was screwed up about the way I thought about money. And you don't even realize some of these things. So in India, all the Bollywood movies that I watched growing up, every single one of them, the rich guy was the villain, right? He was the bad guy, and the hero was this, kind of this crappy poor kid or something, fighting against this, right? So, and you get that stuff in. So, so Bollywood films, if unfortunately you grew up on those two, or maybe I don't know about Hollywood films have that, but they had a big impact on me. And there are these kind of sayings that go in any culture, and you absorb them without questioning them as a kid, just because they seem so wise. And I think that's risky. So we had a lot of sayings in India which implied that money was wrong. So they're in Hindi, so I'll try my best to translate. But there's one I think like a couplet by Kabir, one of the famous poets, which talks about. Oh shoot, my dad would be embarrassing me. He would cite this all the time. Not that I'm blaming you, Dad, right? But he had this line about. God, only give me as much as I need. Don't give me more, right? So saying more is bad, and then a whole bunch of other sayings like that, and so maybe there are some sayings in the Western culture as well, right? Where you heard this saying up or something like that, and right. So money kind of, I didn't even realize it, but yeah, money was kind of a bad thing. I mean, I feel guilty about charging people. I feel, should I be making this much money? That sort of stuff, right? So they shifted that for us, and they said money is impact. Oops. So, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, money is impact, or impact is money. Yeah, actually, that's a better way to put it. And I'm like, whoa, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so impact, how do you get success, right? How do you get success? And success is simple. So for now, we're not talking about kind of inner success. I do talk about that a little bit. We're talking about just outer success, right? So money, money, title, fame, whatever. And usually it's either you solve bigger problems, keys to success, my friends, or you help more people. If you're doing one or both of them, you're going to have a bigger impact, and you're going to make more money. So we're like, okay, cool, God. And folks, the folks that I hang around with, if you judge the impact by the money, man, they crossed 7 figures some time back. And they now talking about multiple 7 figures. And again, the baffling part is that, all the things that you think don't make money, like you think that meditation teacher, right, or yoga teachers, right? I mean, I go to my gym here, 24 Hour Fitness. Earlier was in Gold's Gym, and you look at the yoga teacher here, you can't imagine how she can do this, how anybody teaching yoga can do this. And of course, you hang out with these people and they blow you away. It's just incredible. Pretty much anything you can think of. So, one of my favorite examples is It's called tapping, and of course, I had no idea what that is. But tapping, and it can help you with a lot of things, with becoming more successful in business, relationship issues, all of this sort of stuff. So anybody, anything you can think of, that artists, right? I mean, starving artists, isn't that the classic example? Starving artists, but guys, these guys were not starving, right? So I was hanging around with these people. And again, money block was resolved. So money, we're not fixated on money. We're not chasing money, but we're still chasing something. You've probably seen the end of this, how this movie ends, right? So we would see, I was like, oh boy, I want to have a bigger impact in this world. I want to help more people. I do want to solve bigger problems. And you look at these people and you go, whoa, because they're doing things at a scale which just boggles your mind. Like, wow, you could do that, and it's like, whoa, okay. And without realizing it, I was caught in the trap. So I was not chasing money, but I was chasing something. And you see how these two are fundamentally the same now. So here was this thing about chasing the level 60-61, and now we didn't have that quantified. It was still a little loose, but I was still looking to others, having others around me, right? Inside Microsoft, that was the culture that I was in. Leveled, everybody was like, oh, leveled. So 60. So I let that create my life, and I was letting the same thing happen again. So working 9 to 5 in a company and working as a freelancer consultant are fundamentally the same. How? And let me give you the solution, my friend, and you can tell me whether you agree with this or not. Okay. All right. So let's see. Boy, I think I riled up the crowd here. Lots of comments flying back and forth. I haven't had a chance to check. I'll check in a bit. But so my answer to this is that are fundamentally the same. Well, actually, let's do it this way. Are totally different externally. Are fundamentally the same internally. So externally, of course, we talked about all the external stuff earlier. It's like, oh, all of the stuff that goes around, that's external. It's different. It is very different, right? But internally is the same, right? So internally, you have the same journey that you need to travel, the same journey you need to go. Now, I will say that, of course, our external environment does influence our internal journey. And I would say my internal journey has been sped up many times by stepping into this different environment, right? So, and again, I frankly don't know, was it just because it was different, or it is causes you? I think it does cause you, because again, when we're working somewhere, we make that a part of our identity, and when you rip that away, it's painful. It was painful, believe me. But when you rip that away, you got to stand on your own. Again, look at yourself in the mirror and ask that question: who the fuck am I? Right? So it does kind of accelerate your internal journey, but you gotta be mindful, because again, I mean, the saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same. So I'm beginning to realize that. So yesterday I talked about, so on the webinar that we did, thank you to everybody who joined, we talked about becoming this freelancer consultant, and I asked the question that, why do you want to become a Power BI consultant? And we get a lot of different answers, and I think almost all of them are false. Because just becoming a consultant doesn't give you that, doesn't give you freedom and flexibility, even more money or time or ability to travel. Now, all of those things are possible. Right? I mean, look at the stories, some of the stories we featured on there. It's incredible. It's incredible, the life that you can create. But you got to have the end in mind. I mean, you can't think that, oh, just because I'm going to become a consultant, I'm going to get all that. No, you got to start from there. You're going to say, hey, I'm going to create a life where I live like that. So folks, just to show you a quick reset. So the company of one, now I'm thinking differently. So the company of one, this book really questions this fixation on growth is better. More is better. Let's just put it that way. And of course, the odd thing is that, and no wonder this appealed to me, maybe this is not for everybody, but I have lived with the less is more philosophy for a long time. But not, in my life, so I don't really collect things. I mean, my wardrobe is pretty simple. People ask me, like, where do you shop? And I'm like, I don't remember the last time I shopped for anything, and so forth. And of course, not just there, this reflects in my, if you have heard me ever talk about visualization, I'm always stay away from the bling. I want it kind of less is more impactful, right? And that sort of stuff. So I apply it in my life. I apply it in kind of my work that I do. I apply that philosophy. But I didn't realize that in my business, when I'm setting up my business and so forth, I was straying from this. I was not doing this less is more. I was big impact, big money. Not big money, frankly. I don't remember the last time I really thought about money. But yeah. So we were looking at these, and I was swept away. So I think that's I will end it at that, and I'll check in with some of the comments and yeah. But I would definitely recommend this book if you feel like you're being caught up or at risk of being caught up in this thing. The more is better. It's Go read that book. And for one, it's very insightful. So it talks about why do we have this fixation with more is better. And I think it gives two reasons. So I'll share them really quick. So for one, it says that the media really almost kind of starts worshiping these people. So they love these stories, right? I mean, it came out of nothing and just grew big really fast and sold to millions. And yeah, so we hear so much of that again the external environment that starts to shape our internal reality. We somehow just without even thinking about it, like, oh, I guess that's a good thing. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what should be every person's goal. And it questions that. And it cites some really interesting data where they looked at, the companies that made the fastest growing list on Fortune 500, Inc. 500, something like that. But when they looked at them over time, I think a staggering number of them failed. 70-80% of them failed because, and a big one of the key reasons for failure was, they grew too fast, right? So it's saying more isn't better. I love his line. It's saying better is better. And you get to define, right? So don't let your external environment define what you want. Be internal environment defined. So frankly, my goal is, last year, I took a month off and just was hanging out in India. And with my family, with my dad, we took a trip to Rajasthan, visited the palaces there. It's called the princely state, so they got lots of palaces. And that was great. And yeah, I want to do more of that. So again, for family travel. All right, cool. Whew. All right, folks. So you let me know what you think of my solution. Like, do you kind of agree with this? Do you not? And certainly, I think I stirred up some controversy. But that's great. That's great. One of my other mentors, James Whitaker, he used to say that if you're, so he was talking about public speaking, which I guess this is, even though I'm not in a real room, virtual room, I guess. And he said that if you didn't piss off at least one person, you didn't do your job. All right. So I hope I pissed off at least one person there. Perfect. All right, so Paul Patterson, for what it's worth, I've been consulting for a number of years now and find it much more rewarding than working as an employee. But yeah, Paul, what I would say is that it's the internal shift that has happened for you. So again, sometimes when you remove that external environment, an internal shift happens. Like when I was in Microsoft, I was like stuck with this, like, oh gosh, level promotion, all of that stuff. When you remove that, your internal reality changes. So I would say that consulting can cause that. But I think if we give it to that, then I think we're giving it too much credit. It's like you can use it's almost like it's a catalyst, right? So it can cause that reaction, but the reaction I think is kind of internal. So I do feel that obviously external and internal there's an interaction. So I agree with Paul that I think there's more of an opportunity for this inner journey and inner freedom through that. Do you have more time for yourself, who are still doing equivalent 95? No, my friend, I have all the time in the world. Sometimes I just, actually not, I mean all the time. I feel I couldn't have imagined the life that I'm living right now. It feels incredible. So folks, who's it? Nas Daily. So I'll give you this example. Nas Daily. So let's talk about time, so this guy, his goal was to become a millionaire at 30. He did, but not the way he'd imagined. So he was working at some hotshot consulting company. You know how that goes. Long hours, really, kind of doing the grind, and you feel like you need to do that to get ahead. So I call this the deferred life plan, right? So you're saying, oh, I don't quite like this. I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to do A so I can get B, which I think is fucked up, all right? What you don't realize a lot of times is that if you really want B, a lot of times you can just go get B. And I know it sounds crazy. Like, no, Avi, you don't get it. I need to do this to do that. And folks, again, once you step out of that mindset, that, again, 9 to 5 thing, the one ability, one of the most valuable abilities that I've gained is start to question this BS. One of my mentors calls it rules, the bullshit rules, right? So who the F made that rule, right? So who says that you have to grind it out and then have this good life? F that, right? So I want to. So his revelation was, I think he was I don't know, like 30 something or something like that, and then he realized that 33% of his life was over. So let me show you the T-shirt that he walks around with. Look at that. Oh my gosh, this is when he started. Look at that. So he left that job, and he said, guys, 33% of my life is over. That's a big chunk. What am I going to do with the rest of the life? And if you think about it, so what's going on in the world right now is man, I think it's a little bit twisted in ways. So for one, schools are still teaching us. The school is basically, and you can hear it. This is not my stuff. This is like one of the most popular TED Talks out there by somebody who's been knighted by the Queen, Sir something. I forget the name. But they talk about how the school system is really based on the UK Empire. UK Empire was so big that they needed people in charge to oversee their kingdom. It was a vast empire. The sun never sets, right? And they wanted them to be swappable. They wanted the people to be swappable, which means they could take somebody from South Africa, send them to India, to send them to wherever else they ruled, and it would still work, right? So they wanted everything kind of like a template, almost think like assembly line factory, right? So they wanted, and so they built an education system for that to kind of, I mean, I'm not doing a great job here. So imagine like a template just cutting people out. Like, yep, everybody should look the same because that's what they needed. That is the fundamental premise of our schooling system. And again, you guys would argue with me some, which is good. I want to stir up that controversy, but I really think, and again, it's yeah, I mean, there are good people there, right? I mean, my kids have some great teachers, very well intentioned, but if you look at the underlying system, it's based on this. So it doesn't teach you kind of about life. So the way the structure has come up is that school isn't talking about the stuff. School, it doesn't understand what the new world is. And the way the corporate world has happened is basically you exchange your time for your money. There's almost no other system there. Right? So you exchange time for your money. And again, that's what this guy did. He questioned that bullshit rule, right? He said, do I have to do that, right? I mean, what do I really want to do? Oh, I really want to travel. Well, then can I just go out and really travel, right? So he walks around with this 33% life, and you can see he's gone through 34, 35, and he's sticking that. And of course, by the time I found Nasty Daily, I was already at 50%. And it's such a shitty trade because, for one, you're not only trading time for your money, you're doing this in the best years of your life. So what you need to do is break this link. And again, this stuff was unimaginable for me. I couldn't conceive it. I'm like, what? I'm like, how? Right. So imagine if you break this link. Let's find the not equal sign. Let's spend some time. There we go. Time, not money. What if there was no link? Once you break it, then it's not a matter of time. So the amount of money that I make is not related to the time I spend. In fact, and again, this kind of stuff is like, what? So my coach has this saying. I'll just type it. I'll just leave it there. I wouldn't say anything. It's one of those things where, frankly, I'm still, and some of the stuff, guys, it's not that what I've felt is that a lot of this stuff is kind of mindset. It's belief systems. And it's not like one day you get it, right? I wouldn't even say that I get it, right? I get these statements, but you understand it at a deeper level. And of course, the deeper you go, and the more powerful you get. All right, so to answer your question, no, I have, I, I have, yeah, it's, man, I'm not working hard because it shouldn't be about working hard. Okay, so GGG, so yeah, that's crazy, right? So yeah, I was just thinking, darn, this stuff is deep. Haven't thought about stuff you're saying in a while. Nas Daily, oh my gosh, yeah, gosh. So by the way, I messed up the story. So Nas Daily, I said he became a millionaire at 30. He wanted to, that was his goal, but not in money, in followers, in impact. But think about the lives he's touching. Think about the lives he's transforming. And by the way, I mean, I think I took a break from it. But what he was doing was he was doing those 1 minute videos. Oh gosh, this guy's insane. Like 1 minute, yeah. Well, some of the stuff is I don't know. Yeah, he was pretty much doing 1 minute videos from all over the world, all over the world. That was him. Yeah. So there you go. CNBC. Yeah, 120K job and Venmo to travel the world. So. All right, it's cool. So let's see. So sometimes I go to this deep stuff, and then it's kind of a little bit to shift it around. Like, oh yeah, does anybody have any Power BI questions? So let's go there. So I'm going to check some of the comments. Paul, I'm a lone wolf working towards growing the business to more than just one. Yeah. So Paul, I would highly recommend the company of one. I think it's going to be. By the way, the book title should really be Company of Less. But I don't think that's a very sexy title, so they went with Company of One. But he explains it, that the Company of One doesn't mean just one person. It's talking about this mentality that, which is basically this. More isn't better, better is better. So you decide what is better for you. If you think that running like a 20, 30 people company is better for you, then so be it, right? But I know that's not for me. I want, hey, 1 month in India, I want to take 3 months off in a year. And it's hard to kind of go that route if I have like 20, 30 people working on me. It's possible, I guess, but still. So yeah, I'm looking for more flexibility in life. Godson is saying, I'm too scared to step out and start my own consulting. Too many unknowns. Boy, that's a good one. I'm too scared. Okay, so first of all, guys, 100% honesty, right? So we can be honest here. It's just you and me, right? It's just you and me right here. So we can be honest. But I call myself the accidental entrepreneur. Some of you have heard this story from me, but there are two Avis. Let's talk Avi 1. And he was a guy who was working at Microsoft. And hey, he was actually doing really good. I mean, he had found Power BI, and he was on the up and up, my friends, right? And then there's this Avi 2. This guy, this bugger, he left Microsoft, to chase his dream. Oh my gosh, left this steady paycheck. I said, I'm going to pursue my dream. And man, did he get bloody in the nose. Oh gosh. Man, it was hard. Now, of course, I will say that I did the hard way, so I'm trying to make it easier for the other people. So we'll tell you both the stories, like how you can make it easier. So Microsoft Power BI did great, and Avi 2 left bloody in the nose. But this is Avi 2. This is me, right? And Avi 2 would not, kind of give it up for anything in the world. Would not change a thing. I mean, I feel blessed. I feel really blessed. And again, not just for the external journey, external success. That's what people see it. What I'm more thankful for is the internal journey. I had no freaking clue. I was just tied to that yoke and just kind of doing my thing, right? So I was living this oblivious life. What is that quote? Oh gosh, an unexamined life is not worth living. Unexamined life. I don't know. I think I'm messing it up. I think it's Socrates. But that's where I was, right? There's another one. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions you ask. I wasn't asking very fundamental questions like, how can I get to level 62? Please, somebody tell me. All right, so Avi 2 would not change a thing. But I'll tell you about Avi 1, my friend. because I was there too. Avi 1, when he made this decision, he didn't really know what was coming. So he was a little oblivious than what you are. At least you're aware of the dangers. So if Avi 2 and Avi 1 met and they talked, and Avi 2 said, hey, Avi 1, awesome, man, you found Power BI, you're doing great. By the way, you're about to leave Microsoft, and it's going to be really hard. This is what's going to happen. It's going to be gut-wrenching. It's going to feel like you can't, it's going to be just really hard. But they need to make it through, and everything's going to be great. Avi 1 is going to say, F that. I'm not doing it. It's too scary. But you see the contradiction here. I mean, Avi 2, this guy, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Actually, this is another, would not trade it for anything in the world. This is the best thing that ever happened to me. But Avi 1 wouldn't take it. He would be too scared. So there's a contradiction. There's a paradox. You realize that, right? I mean, Avi 1 needs to take that journey to become to that state, but he's too scared. And I would have been too scared too, right? So I get that. And I'll just tell you kind of the shortcut we're doing. So by the way, guys, if you go to learnpowerbi.com, we have taken over the page. So we've taken over the page, and there is, so the program that I'm running now is called 6 Figures Power BI Professional. Frankly, we call it Pro Plus. That's why I had to kind of informally. So that's why I had to pause for the name. Ooh, I don't know what's happening with the page. Let's see. Learnpowerbi.com. No luck. Oh, there we go. Perfect. So we're running this program, 6 Figures Power BI Consultant, and we have hacked the whole system. So guys, you don't have to go through the pain that I did, because I have created what I needed. Oh my gosh, I actually didn't realize it. I just realized it just as I said it. So I have created what I needed. Right, so Avi 1 was so scared and not ready for it and wouldn't have taken that step. I want to help the Avi 1s out there. In a way, I'm helping myself. You see how kind of selfish it is, but that's okay. Right, so I'm helping myself. I've created what I needed. So what did I need? Man, frankly, so I'll just tell you what we have created. So what we have created is we call it Pro Plus. I'll use the short name. The formal name is 6 Figures Power BI Professional. Is we're going to have a group of, so we've already done this one, so we had a group of 10 amazing people. And believe me, they started off with all these doubts. They're like, oh, can I do it? This is going to be so scary. But they stepped up. And sometimes that is a transformation, just stepping up, right? So there's nothing that differentiates. There were 100 people who considered joining this program, considered it, 10 who did. There's nothing fundamentally different between the other 90 and these 10. There's nothing different. It's not that these people are more skilled, more brave. No, nothing. Sometimes it's just a transaction. Believe me, I know that because I went through the same thing. When I wanted to kind of leave Microsoft and set up my own business, I had the same fear. But by the way, I did join, the one that I mentioned, I did join a program for entrepreneurs. And as soon as I joined, man, it felt like a lot of money back then. Of course, the return on investment, I would say, has been phenomenal. Again, in internal as well as external sense. But I was like, oh my gosh, this is the worst decision I did. Why did I spend this money and all that stuff? So all of that fear was there. But they took that step. So that's the first transformation. But then you get this this life raft. And I had told them that, hey, I want the kind of people who pull together, who are gonna have each other's back, collaboration before competition. So we if we kind of screen them, made sure. So we rode together. We've been rowing together, and then what we do is now, of course, there is Power BI training is there. So of course, people, there's a saying that you always overestimate what you can do in a year. You always aren't. Oh wait, no, I messed it up. You overestimate what you can do in a day. You underestimate what you can do in an year. Tremendous transformation is possible in a year, right? But imagine what we do in a to-do list. I have some stickies right here. You kind of write stuff down and it kind of never gets done, or it goes from one, right? So we overestimate what we can do in a day, and we underestimate what we can do in a year. People always overestimate by a big degree how much Power BI skill they need. So that's not the factor here. There are folks that yeah, so that's not the factor. But of course, hey, we'll make sure you know Power BI, right? We'll make sure of that. We should make sure you have Power BI support. But we get these 10 amazing people, put them in a raft together, and say row, 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 row. I was going to say an expletive, but yeah. So row together, and it's fun, right? So and then we solve some of the problems. Like, how do you get your first project? We solve it using real Power BI. If you don't know what that is, it's simple. We go out and ask businesses to submit projects, which we work on in a class setting. Simple. Boom, done. Right? Solved. Right? So that's one of the biggest problems. And the other is, how do you get more projects? How do you grow from there? Well, I've retired from consulting, but of course, being on YouTube, having this presence and so forth, if we keep getting consulting leads, so we happily pass on consulting leads to our students. So we solve that problem too. Now, of course, we do give them kind of business training as well, so that they're not dependent on us. I don't want them to be dependent on me, because frankly, I want to turn around and I want to groom others, the next batch. So we do give them business training on kind of how to define your business, how to leverage social presence to expand your presence and start getting leads and all this sort of stuff, right? How do you target your market? So we do teach them a lot of that stuff. That's in there, and that's it, right? So it's right. I mean, it's frankly the blueprint that I needed. I didn't quite have that, the blueprint, and I don't know, support, structure, community, a lot of that stuff. So that's my best answer to you. That yeah, it can be hard, but for me, I'll say in my own journey as an entrepreneur, the group of people was perhaps the most valuable. Well, I think it was for me, and it's one of those things where you don't go in for that, but you realize that how it's been amazing. All right, cool. All right, so yes, I'm looking to switch over. So Bella has, but I want to talk to you, but it's not related to the current topic or discussion. It's more about the same problem, a question in Power BI. Can you talk to me after this live video? Well, I can talk to you right now during this live video. So let's do this. So some folks have dropped off on the phone. How much are we doing time? Oh my gosh, time flies when you're having fun. That's one topic I'm going to talk about forever as well. Flow, I wouldn't get in there. So Eamon, Jeff, Julian, if you have any Power BI question, it's time. Thank you for being so patient. Then go with that. So let me. Yeah. So, gosh, Julian, I hear you. So Julian, you did have a question, Power BI questions. Julian had a comment as well. So Julian, what's going on with your mic, man? Right? It's self-muted. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and we can talk. So confidence to deliver a solution to a client. I get it. But it's. Hey, if you're part of this program, man, we'll back you up. We'll make sure you can deliver. All right, so Julian,
I put my mic on.
How you said you had a question about the date and stuff?
Yeah, can you hear me? I've got the mic.
Yes, I can hear you. Awesome.
I'm still sort of really what I would class as a basic one.
Yeah.
So obviously, I keep thinking I'm asking silly, straightforward questions, and certain things I do, I just think there must be an obvious way of doing something.
Yeah.
And then when I can't, I just so anyway. I've got a matrix visual. Okay.
Yeah.
In my column, I've got your month, year long from the ultimate calendar.
Yeah.
Okay. In the values is a total cost, and I've got some dimensions that are in the rows.
Got it.
When I look at the dates, they go from like I'm filtering on 2019.
Yeah.
My columns are Jan, Feb, March, April, May.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I want it to do is go May, April, March, Feb, Jan. And then next month it will go June, May, April, March, Feb, Jan.
Oh yeah. Okay, got it.
And and you hit the ellipsis to try and do a sort.
Yes.
And of course date doesn't, the axis doesn't come up as a sort.
Yeah, got it. Oh, I see what you're saying.
See what I mean?
Yeah. So
I thought whether I needed to create another column on the calendar, which was to sort descending, and I tried to do that, and I just didn't make any difference.
let's see if we can solve it for you. So first of all, Julian, you didn't use those words, but maybe you kind of meant it. But what I'll say is there are no silly or stupid questions. All right.
Okay.
It's all fair game. If you're stuck something,
I realise you say that, but there's always. But sometimes you think, well, hold on a minute. I must be missing something obvious. So
I
anyway.
know. Yeah, you feel that way, but I don't want you to feel that way. So the line that I want you to remember, and I want everybody to remember, there are no stupid questions, but there can be plenty of stupid answers. All right. Right. So so if somebody and one of the stupid answers would be somebody would shut you down. It's like, oh well, you don't so don't be ever hesitate to kind of ask questions. And another thing, by the way, that's banned in our class. I don't know if it's officially stated somewhere as a rule, but it should be, which is you never start off with an apology. I got so tired of that because people in our community, Learn Power BI, they would start off with, "Oh guys, sorry if this has been covered," right? So, and I'm I don't really care. Don't say that. And just if you're stuck somewhere, ask. If it has been covered, we'll just point it to you. All right, cool. So let's. So you, for one, kudos to you, my friend. I think you're exactly on the right track. And that's what I would look to do. I would do another column and just do kind of descending. Well, let's see. Okay, actually, I realized, oh my gosh, I had not shared my screen with you guys. So I was scribbling down some notes. They were not that important, but anyway. All right, can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Power BI desktop loading? Okay, perfect.
So I'm on my phone, so I've got the phone and I've got the computer running, so.
Okay.
Right.
Wow, it's taking a while. That's okay.
Yeah, I've got the desktop BX file open on the computer and doing this on the phone. So.
Okay, perfect. So here we have, let's go to our calendar table. Idea was sound. Basically, so the way a month is sorted in the calendar table right now is we basically give everything a number. So January is 1, February is 2, March is 3, and so forth. And we just need to create another one, and we would flip the order. March, and we would say January, we may call it 12, maybe call this 11, and 10, and so forth, and December is going to be 1. And that's what you want, right? Pretty much descending order? Yeah. All right, great. So let's see how it works, though. So we're going to put a matrix out there, and we're going to put the regular month in columns. And I'm going to put some sales, some number there. Sales and values. And we're going to grab country over here. And size. Let's go. Okay, cool. So I was curious that what you said, that there's no sort options, sort by country sales. Oh, so I see what you're saying. There's you can sort these. So let's flip it for a second. So I think this is kind of I would call it a deficiency in the UI. Oops. Okay, so let's do, for this guy, I'm going to put month on rows. Whoa, look at that. Wait, is that right? No, that's not quite right. So the UI, the user interface, does give you the ability to sort rows, but not columns, right? So I really think that it is a deficiency in the UI, but we can solve it, right? So let's solve it.
There is a reason why I don't want it down the y-axis, because of the drilling onto the next set of things.
Yeah, no.
So, for example, the lowest level of drill is customer. So you'd have customers zipping across the screen ad infinitum. So.
Okay, got it. All right, so let's Let's solve it really quick. Month num. Calendar. So how do I flip a number? So I'm going to take the current month num. Oh, can I just do, maybe I can do minus. Let's try it. So reverse month num. And I'm just going to say 12 minus the month number. Where is it? Where is it? Where are you, my friend? Let's see what we get. Okay, so we got the new calendar table coming up. Okay, so I just want to examine what is in there. So I'll say for month, give me the month num, and give me, oh shoot, I didn't make it a number. Hold on, I'll have to fix that. So let's go back to calendar table, our last column, and we're going to change this to a whole number. Okay. So while that's loading, so Julian, you were talking a little bit about consulting. Just tell me, what is your like current state right now? Are you working a full-time job? Maybe have thought about consulting, or are you already a consultant, part-time, something like that? What's going on with you?
I am consulting. I do.
Yeah.
I'm in sort of the HR payroll field.
HR payroll, got it. And
but yeah, specializing in a particular product.
Love that.
Yeah, not working, not in a current contract. So
Yeah.
what I've been, and part of the consulting role is various parts of the life cycle, one of which would be data migration.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking of all the ETL work, Power BI is just fantastic for the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Particularly when you're a consultant, you come up from the route of being the application side. So I'm not exposed. My history has been that I haven't been exposed to databases.
Yeah.
So all that sort of clever SQL stuff.
Yeah.
When I've done it in the past, it's with various tools like Business Objects or Cognos Impromptu. So, cut a long story short, while I'm not doing that sort of application consulting, I sort of stumbled across Power BI as you know, as you said, people do, because I've just found it a fantastic tool.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to get myself up to speed as much as possible to try and use that as a different means of gaining employment.
Absolutely. So,
and in fact, I've got. So, and of course, the problem is, yes, you can use the AdventureWorks database, but until you're working on a real.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I've been quite fortunate in that my wife's business, they're always complaining about no knowledge, no data. Yeah. And I've been able to provide them with a dashboard and some various reports, such as the one I've got. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I've earned a small amount of money from that. And, I'm just looking to sort of grow my knowledge.
Yes.
But I just find DAX, for example, I just keep. Yeah. When I'm doing things, I'm always going off to your Facebook group. Yes. Because the answer isn't obvious. And at some point, I'm going to cross the bridge. Yes. Where it's suddenly the light appears. Yes. But I haven't got there yet.
Yeah, but you're on the right path, my friend. Really, I'm convinced that there's no better way to learn than doing. That's the best way to internalize. I mean, to tell you about the journey, everybody's journey that I know kind of looks like this in Power BI. And I don't know, I was talking to another trainer in Power BI, and his exact words were, how can Microsoft get away with this? Right? How can they make something so hard? Right? And I'm like, I mean, that was a hard statement. It was a hard statement to absorb, but in a way it's true, right? So everybody's learning curve is like this. You start off really easy. And if you talk to somebody who's just discovered Power BI, they're like, what are you talking about? It's a playground. And what they're doing is they're having fun in the visualization. But pretty soon it becomes this really steep uphill thing. Now, the good news is that you do, as you described, you do get on the other side. Now, of course, my mission in life has been to shortcut this journey. I think it's still going to be a little bump, but so of course, so I really think the key is to kind of learn the concepts, but then go apply it and go apply it. And I'm drawing a circle because I think you kind of do it again and again, and that's how you're going to get to the other side. So you're on the right path. We're right path. Stay there. Hang in there. All right.
Yeah,
so
what I'm finding is I've got all this suites. The company doesn't use Power BI, so they've got no licenses. So I'm publishing to the web, which yes, I understand all the so there's obviously password control from the website. But yeah, each time I do the next month's refresh, I'm trying to improve something from what my learning is. So
bingo. Yes.
Yeah. Bingo.
Oh, so hey, Julian, let me share this with you. So I hang out with these incredible Power BI folks, and I remember once we were talking about how each one of us, when we look back to something we had done years ago, we go, "Whoa, what? Why did I do that?" It's just silly. And the funny thing is, it's often not just something we did years ago. Sometimes you look at something you did a month ago, and you go, what? Why? Right? So you don't even realize it, that you're growing in this journey. And I want you to acknowledge that. I did want to change one thing slightly. So if you're thinking about consulting, you said, I want to grow. And you said it with such passion, but then you kind of mess it up for me when you said in learning. And frankly, I don't care that much about that. I would rather you get a paying client. I think the growth you're going to get from there is going to be mind-blowingly incredible. So let's talk about that. Hold that thought. Let that sink in a bit. But let's see if we can solve this one for you. So what I did was I created another column. And we'll show you something here. So in month, and let's how do I show this? So I'm gonna actually let's just do it over here. So in here I'm gonna add not the month but the reverse sort. Okay. So I got that, and I'm gonna say month reverse sort is sorted by this new column that I have, reverse month num. So sort by, you familiar with this, right? And so if you don't have sort by, then it's going to sort it alphabetically. April becomes the first one, right? Now, if you say, no, sorted by this other thing, then it just sorts it by that. Now, to have control over sort, you can change it to whatever you want. So if I just put, the original idea, the Jan to be, the highest number and so forth. So here, month reverse sort, I think it's looking good for me. But of course, the key test is going to be if I put it in the columns, does it work right? So let's try that. So I'm going to take away month off and month reverse, and fingers crossed, boom. Okay, great. So I imagine you're somehow filtering to or not show December. Like maybe you're showing completed months or something like that. Is that right?
Well, it wouldn't show anything because there's no data.
Yeah, but in a real system, what I would do is I would add a current month offset filter. So I would go to current month. Current month. Is that the right one? Oh shoot, where's the filter pane? I'm still not used to it. Filter pane, current month. Oh, actually, this one is tricky. Let's filter it down to year as well. So I would filter down to year, and of course for that sometimes you can use a current year offset as well. Let's try 2017. Nope. Okay, this data is slightly old. So 2016, but then I will say that only give me where current month is less than 0. So right now we're in June, so it should blank out. Oh, I see what you were saying. You were saying it wouldn't have any data. Okay, got it. Yeah, that would work too.
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, no, I've got some slices for years, so that's But yeah,
Yeah,
so that
perfect
works
is
for me,
less than zero.
data-wise. Yeah.
Actually, I'm not sure why this didn't work the way I expected. All right, we'll solve it later. Okay, cool. So, but yeah, you have this reverse sort now, and it's going to work on
Yeah.
columns. And I'm
So
gonna
it's that calculated.
yes. So you
You've
can
added a calculated column into the calendar table.
yeah, that's right. And again, a query editor is my kitchen. So sometimes you're tempted to do this in DAX, but I would advise against that. So don't do a calculated column there. Do that in the query editor. Yep. So I added the first really simple. I just said give me basically I wanted to flip the number. So I said 12 minus month num. I don't even think you need 12. Maybe you could have just used a negative number, but again, I mean, it's kind of visually, I think this looks better. So I did 12 minus that, and then duplicated my original month column because I don't want to mess month up for everybody who
Yeah.
may be using the model. So this is like a month. I called it something else. Hold on. So I call it like a month reverse sort, and then for this guy, I said, oh, sort this by that other reverse month num column. So
Yeah.
so this is great. So by the way, of course, you probably heard me talk about it. I mean, this is the learning process, and so I call it the learn, do, fail, win cycle, where you learn something theory, and that's great, but then you go apply it, and then stuff like this happens. That's when you fail, and that's okay, because if you can flip it. And you can flip it much faster if you have help. So that's what we focus on. Then you get those win. And the faster and more times you can repeat the cycle, the more amazing you become. And of course, you talked about that already. All right, so Julian, I want to go back to what I said earlier, which was I really think that your learning, it's one of those things, right? It's backwards. What we think and what we say to ourselves, the stories we tell, the beliefs we form, if you will, goes like this. When I get better at Power BI, when I practice and learn and get better, when I get better, then I will go get a paying client. But it's sometimes the opposite. I think in this case it is, which is when you get a paying client, man, your learning is going to go through the roof because it changes the whole dynamics, right? So I've experienced that. So you may or may not agree with it, but I'll encourage you. So to get a paying client, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate in that the paid client I've got is someone that is not sophisticated with their data
Perfect.
understanding.
Yeah. Great. Oh, gosh.
It's when you have someone that's relatively sophisticated. So
yeah. Oh gosh.
That's when they can question whether your skills are giving them enough.
Yeah, but so what I sense in you a little bit is you almost making it sound like you're getting away with something. Maybe you didn't mean it that way, but I do want to call it out to everybody else that don't think about it that way. So I have what I call the pyramid theory, right? And we have this quest to get on the top. We fetishize the people at the top and like, oh my gosh, look at them, they're so awesome. And I really think that we shouldn't care about that. We shouldn't care about that. Obviously, it's fun to go up and learn and get more. But wherever you are, let's say you are right here, you can serve that slice of the pyramid. So you can serve maybe the whole thing. Usually it doesn't work that way. Usually you're best off serving people who are kind of closer to you. And you take them with you on the journey. As you progress, they're going to climb up too. So you have nailed it. You've nailed it. That's perfect. And again, don't, if you were, maybe you weren't, but don't feel like, that, oh, they don't know any better, that's why they're working on me. No. They are fortunate to be working with you because they may not realize, but somebody who's here just above them or something like that is usually a much better person to help them than somebody who's up there. Believe me, I've seen that. This hotshot consultant comes in and builds a solution which nobody understands. That can happen in Power BI too. You look at the M code and it's like, oh yeah, it's all in the advanced editor, mate. Just check out the advanced editor. And man, I'm shitting bricks. I'm like, no, I don't want to look at advanced editor, right? So get me out of there. So they build something which is not appropriate, and sometimes they don't get it. They don't understand the requirement. They lose patience with the clients. All sorts of bad things happen, right? So we think that getting on the top is better. It's not always better. So You're doing great. And again, your client is lucky to have you. Lucky to have you.
Okay. Well, just going back on that calendar
Yeah.
thing you've done, I suppose I'm surprised that
Yeah.
that sort of issue hasn't cropped up before. That someone
Oh
has
yeah.
said, "Oh, yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, Power BI team has so much on their plate. If you go to ideas.powerbi.com, it's like chock full of stuff. And they keep delivering amazing stuff every month. But yeah, I really think this is a
yeah,
miss. This is a miss because again, if I can sort it in here without having to do the thingamajiggery that we did, why can't I sort it here, right? So yeah, I feel it's a miss. Now, of course, what I would encourage you to do is oftentimes like, oh, this should be
yeah,
this way, this should be that way. Just go ahead and submit that as an idea, and
yeah."
and who knows? I mean, maybe they will pick it up, maybe they won't pick it up, but at least you did your part. You submitted to them, and then maybe
Okay,
they'll see it, right? So yeah, I would say, hey, give me ability to sort column headings, and I think it's a
okay,
very reasonable
okay.
ask. Yep. All right. Good
And
stuff,
then
mate.
get some people to support it. For example, you.
Yes, absolutely. Why not? That's fair game.
Yes,
Yeah, post it
yeah,
in the groups like,
okay,
hey guys, I voted for this idea. I added this
yeah.
idea. I vote for it, and yeah, go from there. Yeah.
Bill, brilliant. Thank you,
Absolutely. Awesome. So, folks, I don't know if I can.
and for your advice as well.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
You're on great track, my friend. All right. So, let's do this. What we're going to do. So, folks, I know this was a little bit a fiery start, if you will. Again, I felt passionate about that. Hey, Julie, I'm going to put you on mute back again. You can unmute yourself if you like. All right. So, this is how we. So in the Q&A mode, what we do is we try to take one question from the students, and we try to take one question from the chat, and later in the call, and I would define this as later in the call, I think we're 1.5 hours in, we open the phone lines in so YouTube folks can call in as well. So folks, thank you so much for being patient, and of course, if you come here like, oh, I want my question answered, if you come instead with an open mind, it's like, hey, let me see what I can learn. Often you learn more from other people's questions. I know in my own business group, initially, when I just joined, I would just sit there and listen to the Q&A. Like, oh, wow. Oh, I didn't think of that. Or sometimes even I wouldn't care for the question, but it'll come back to me. When I later encountered that problem, I was like, oh, yeah, I remember they were talking about that. Yes, they said they did this and that worked. Something like that. So yeah, there's a lot of good learning in there. All right, so Gigi is saying, can you show us his original question, please? Sorry, I messed that up. So Julian was asking how to sort months names in reverse order. I should have written that down. Perfect. So there was one person, Bella, I think. Who was that who was asking a question? Oh yes, Bella. You've been so patient. If you're still stuck, I say let's just have you call in. Did I miss a question on the phone? Oh yeah, so Jeff, yes, that we do owe that to the folks who attended the PowerBIPro webinar. So folks, we've been doing this something new inside our Learn Power BI program. We're having the amazing people who are in the program just share their knowledge, because collectively, so the smartest person in the room now is the room itself. It's kind of true, certainly in our network world. So yeah, I'm most likely not the smartest person in Learn Power BI anyway. But if you look at the collective knowledge that we have inside our program, it's amazing. So we're trying to build more of that, build more of a community. So we had Pam Baker come in and talk about what if analysis and do more of that. So we will do that. Hey Charles, good to have you on, my friend. All right, so Bella, please help Bella. Yes. Okay, Bella, wait there. It's kind of like waiting for the AAA guy. Is it just me? Every time I call AAA, I mean, they show up, but sometimes it's like a really long wait. All right. Copy link address. So I really hope, Bella, that you can join it using this link. And what happened? Did it work? Oh, it's still working. Meanwhile, I'm gonna just scroll back. Oh, oops. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, now it should work. So let me scroll back and maybe you can get some context of. I know it seemed like you guys were trying to help Bella. That's great. That's awesome. Love that. Okay, let's come back here. All right, Bella, the phone line is really open now. Oh, it seems like you're trying to get the data from a PBIX file. That is definitely possible. Oh boy, Paul had an earlier question: how to create a date reference table via DAX. But why? Why do it in DAX? DAX is not the kitchen. I would recommend just grab the ultimate calendar table. So folks, if you haven't found it yet, why just have any old average table in your model where you can have the ultimate calendar table? So if you go on my channel, on the top, when I'm not live, then you're going to find the tutorial, which is also kind of here inside a playlist. But the very second thing, ooh, nice stats, is the ultimate calendar table. And that's done in Query Editor because that's the right place to do it. Probably the only place to do it. It's got so many advantages. Don't even get me started. I see people cooking, kind of clean shape transform the data in DAX, and I'm like, oh, why would you do that, right? And I see them writing a page long or pages long DAX formula, and I'm like, gosh, I'm having a panic attack. I don't know. I really feel like Power BI. It's for one, if you swim with the flow, it's so much easier, right? So I see people who are like not swimming with the flow; they're going against it, right? When Query Editor, yeah. So again, so I would recommend. The short answer is grab the calendar table. All right, let's see. So Bella, I didn't see you join yet, so let me know if you are able to join or not. Yeah, so any other questions? Folks, type it in. Oh boy, so Just Dubbin has an amazing statement. I'll read it out. So he's, I think, referring to what I said, which is you is backwards, whereas you think that, oh, I gotta learn, I gotta practice, I'm gonna get better, and you keep hitting that tennis ball against the wall, right? That's what you're doing. You keep hitting that tennis ball against the wall. Like, yeah, see, I'm learning tennis, I'm getting better, I'm learning tennis. And when I'm really good at hitting the ball against the wall, I'm gonna then go play against a real player. That's what you say to yourself, right? That's the belief system you form. And sometimes you form it unconsciously, which is worse because then you're not even aware of it, right? You just say something to yourself, you're not ready, or you make it very logical. You just say something very logical. It's hard to argue with. But that's what's going on in your head. But then if you don't do that, if you say, you know what, I'm sick and tired of hitting the ball against the wall, I'm just going to go against a real player. Just see how it works out. And fine, maybe the first time you get slaughtered, right? But guess what? Yeah, the journey, you're going to get much better that way at real tennis, not at hitting the ball against a wall. Guys, that's not tennis. I don't know what that is. Right? There are sports like squash and stuff which do that, but great. Even then, you want to be playing against real players. So that's exactly what Just Dubbin was sharing. So he says, very true. When initially learning Power BI, I was advertised to a client as being a Power BI expert. And because of this, the amount that I engrossed myself in Power BI was more than I would have. cool. So that's great. So of course, folks, you don't have to, like, you don't have to necessarily feel like you need to go with false advertising. I'm not saying that's what happened in Just Dubbin's case, but let's talk about that for a second. So let's go back here. So folks, so you're saying, hey, can somebody else try out that Zoom link, the one that I just posted, and see if it works for anybody else. If you have a question, even better. Okay, Danny has a question, but let me, while we're talking about this, oh shoot, now I completely lost. I shouldn't have sidetracked. So what were we talking about? Tennis. Okay, forget it. We'll come back to it. Let's see. Conditional refresh and service. Well, that's a tough one. Not that I know of. So, Danny is talking about, let's see if we can at least figure out a workaround. Conditional refresh. So initiate a second scheduled refresh in Power BI service if refresh fails. Ooh boy. If refresh fails. That would be nice, right? Hey, so for one, I would say again what I said, that maybe bi.com. And maybe the way you propose them is this. So we use a software called Zapier for automation. Zapier is kind of like PowerFlow, kind of like IFTTT, if this then that, if you, maybe not. And Zapier, and what it does is it retries automatically. So if the task fails, you auto replay, that's what it calls, right? So, and so I think you can make a request for this, saying that, hey, there are cases where this makes sense, where if refresh fails, give me a setting where I can say try again in 30 minutes. And sometimes, the database might be down or something like that, or something transitory happened. Yeah, so this is a valid idea, but I'm not aware of this. The best that I can say is that if you were not using the service, PowerBI.com, if you were using kind of Azure Analysis Server or SSAS Tabular, then I think you could totally code that, right? Because this gives you a lot more flexibility. They have their own language. What is it called? I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, you can program the whole thing. You can say test this, do that, and so forth. So it's possible there, I would assume, but in the service, not that I'm aware of. Yeah, all right, cool. So I think the dial-in worked, but let's see. Oh yeah, so we have Paul on the line. But so Bella, it is working, at least for Paul. Yeah, so I would say it is working. So try that again. Oh, so I didn't even think about that, which suggested to try API. Yeah, I know that's the challenge. Like API, like I haven't even tried it. I wouldn't know where to need to download the app. Okay, so Bella, Paul's suggestion is you might need to download, and it should, when you click that link, it should ask you to just download and kind of install something. Let's see. Oh yeah, so it's odd that it's not working for you at all. So API, I didn't think of that. That would be possible, I suppose. What I'll say is definitely submit it as an idea. And again, I mean, they might not be able to deliver on this in time for it to help you. You might have to figure out some alternative solutions. Oh, I did think of another one for you. But you would be helping the next generation, my friend, right? And of course, the next generation could be folks who find this, get into the same issue a month from now or 3 months from now. The other idea is a third-party tool, and my favorite is Power Update. And now I'm not sure if they have conditional refresh. Yeah, so they may not have that. You may ask them, but they may have something. You can explore that. So Power Update. Um, the site is actually Power Update. Just Google them. You'll find those guys. I think their company is called Power on BI, which oddly enough, so this is going to be on the trivia quiz, which we are going to host at some time. Power BI Pro, I don't know, Avi Singh's trivia quiz. So the company's name was inspired by my tagline, and the owner, I know him. He's a really nice guy. Yeah, he sent me a note saying, "Hey, Avi, man, I love your tagline. I'm going to call my company that." I'm like, "Awesome, great, go for it." Spread the message, spread the love. All right, cool. So let's see. Let's circle back. So I think we tried to do. I guess we did take a question from there. So let me see. The crowd has thinned out on the phone here. But yeah. So Charles joins. That's right. So Charles, Eamon, Jeff, Julian. Do you guys have any question for me? Power BI or not? at this point, well, frankly, at any point in our call, it doesn't matter. Anything is fair game. So if you have a question, just unmute yourself and talk. Okay, Charles did type in something. So Charles is saying, I'm experimenting with using SharePoint image library. Ooh, yeah. Were you asking about that? The image manager thing where you acquired a third-party tool. SharePoint image library to add images and tag images, and then want to summarize data metrics in Power BI. But is there a way to show thumbnails of the images stored in Power BI? Yes, there absolutely is. Oh, I love that question. So I'm gonna take it as is, and hey, you can go ahead, mate. Unmute yourself. Say hi to me at least. 10:37. Charles.
Hello, Avi.
Hey there. So so you were the one who had posted that your company was either considering or had already gotten what is it called, like an image manager or something like that?
Digital asset manager.
Asset manager,
To
got it.
record some. Yep. To record some of the images for the marketing group.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of another person who's in a program. I'm blanking out her name. But what's the radio ad with like, now you got Shane Company. Now you got a friend in diamond business. Shane. Does that ring a bell? Has anybody heard that ad? Maybe it's local in Seattle.
Yeah. I've heard of that.
Yeah. When I spoke to my kids about this, they're like, "Oh, I have somebody from that company in my class." They kind of like, "Oh, okay." They're not that excited. Anyway, yeah, they maybe overplay the ad a little bit, but a friend in diamond business. I think it's so my mentor says that you got to have a message, and then you got to spread it out, and then that needs to be kind of clear, consistent, and sticky. Actually, come to think of that, it is definitely those three things. This is definitely clear, consistent, and very sticky. You can't get it out of your head. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a person who isn't that, and they and she kind of interfaces or works with the marketing department, and yeah, they run a lot of ads, and they wanted to see the ad image right next to it. So they have dealt with this. So I'll try to find the name of the person, and yeah, that would be a good connection for you. Okay, so let's go back.
I'm gonna switch over to my phone too. 1 second.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna copy this stuff and yeah, so images can be stored in binary and be shown as thumbnail. Power BI binary image. Yeah. Okay, we got it. Encode image.
Back on.
All right, Charles, you back on? Oh yeah, yes, you said you are. All right, so the way this works is you have to convert your images to binary. Now of course, I don't know. I mean, if you already have that tool may be already doing that. If it's doing that, great. Otherwise, can you give me a sense of how many images are we talking about? Like just some count? 100, 1,000, thousands?
You
More?
mean the marketing team? They probably have hundreds for all the product lines.
Yeah. Okay.
And
That's
they
not
just
that bad.
started doing this, so.
Okay, good, got it. 100 is not that bad, so basically you gotta convert it to binary, and of course, I would try to find the easiest way. I was like, hey, can I just upload these 100 images somewhere and get the binary in there? I'm not sure. Maybe I know the SQL Server can store binary. Can it actually convert? I'm not sure. So you're gonna have to look into that. Like, how do you convert to binary? Binary, it's possible, and then you can store them anywhere. You can store them in SQL Server. That's where it's typically stored. So of course there are these services like which can do it for you. But again, I mean, if you can find a way which can do all 100 images at once, that would be awesome. So you can store them somewhere, the binary, whatever the zeros and ones you get, and then pull them into Power BI, and it can show it as an image. So right, so does that kind of make sense?
It does.
Okay. And yeah.
So you would store the binary in the SQL Server.
Well, I mean, you can store it in other locations as well. Anything that is capable of storing binary stuff, which I know SQL is. I don't know what else would be.
Yep.
I doubt. I have a feeling that Excel would probably choke on it or something. I don't know. I mean, you can try it. I have not heard. Yeah, I mean, so you can see maybe it can be a CSV or something like that, right? So, yeah. So you gotta. So you really have two steps, right? So step one would be obviously you gotta convert your image to binary, and then store them somewhere, and figure that out. I know SQL Server can do that. Something else, most likely, other places. Heck, for all I know, maybe even CSV, right? I don't really know, right? Because it's just a sequence of zeros and ones, so theoretically that should work. But you can investigate, and then you pull them into Power BI, and the only thing is going to be so you're going to tell Power BI that this is an image. So you're going to go to. So right now, like you're gonna say region image, and nope, not there. Data category. Oh shoot. Oh man, I need help here. How do you tell Power BI that it's an image? Let's see if folks on YouTube can help. There's it's really simple. But it's some setting somewhere, which clearly I can't seem to find it. Oh yeah, so wait, image URL doesn't make sense. Change. Maybe you do say image URL, even though it's not a URL. No. This is I don't think this is it. Web image URL. Yeah, so there is one which I'm using in my model actually. So this one is actually I realized, of course. So there is that way to do it too. Forget about everything that I said. One way is to just upload the images somewhere and get a URL. And the trick is that I think if you publish it to PowerBI.com, then those URLs need to be kind of public,
Okay.
Right, but in here, so I just have this stuff. So that is one approach. Approach one. Going to Power BI.
I'm reading something online, Avi, and it says the final step is to set the data category of the image URL column to image URL so that Power BI will recognize it as URL rather than regular text and display the image.
Yeah, but in this case, when you convert to binary, you don't have a URL.
Yeah.
The column is going to have a bunch of zeros and ones. But as far as I know, you can still. I'm like 99% sure that even if you get a bunch of zeros and ones inside Power BI, you can tell it that, hey, no, this is not zeros and ones. This is actually an image. Yeah. Please show it as an image. So you can do that.
Okay.
So maybe it is still called image URL, but usually image URLs look like this. Oops, not this guy. Does that work? Copy. Okay, got it. So you publish them. Oh wow, yeah, something like this, right? So you kind of publish all of this. Don't need this. How do I do this? Online and yeah, it's I really think it's gonna I think it have to be public, at least to work on PowerBI.com. Store images online and build the URL. So of course what I would do if I was using, so delete table. So usually what I do is let's say I have assets, right? And they would have some ID, right? There would be some ID column, and I don't know, it'll be like 001, 002, and so forth. So I would create images with names to match. So I would create 001 dot whatever JPG, 02 dot JPG, and then publish them to location. Example, I don't know, www.contoso.com. Oops, contoso.com/images, right? And then add a column, query editor, preferably, not DAX, which says, oh, it basically does this. So it says http:// and ampersand, the ID column, right?
Yep.
Ampersand.jpg. So and there you go, right? So so that's how I would approach it. And this one, you do change the data category to image URL, saying, hey, that this is a URL, this is a web address. I don't know, I'm like 99% sure that this is also doable, but yeah. So Paul is saying if you host this on your own SharePoint site, then they would work kind of on premise, but I don't think that would work on PowerBI.com. You can try it out, maybe PowerBI.com. I don't know. My feeling is it wouldn't work, but yeah, I can test it out. Gosh, I'm kind of miffed about this. All right, so you think you're good? It feels like you kind of know what to try at least. I'm pretty confident it's gonna work.
No, definitely. I'll try these out, and I can post to the page. Once I find out if it works or not. So
perfect.
Yeah, let me see what works. Yep. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Absolutely. All right, great. So let's tag back in. YouTube folks, you are up. I'm gonna scroll back and see if there was any question. Paul, so Paul's asking, can you cover statistical analysis in future videos if you're comfortable with it? It's on my to-do and want it involved in Power BI. I'm not a statistics guy per se. I do say I kind of have enjoyed it when I've done it. The closest that I got was when I was involved with Six Sigma. I got my Six Sigma green belt. That was a lot of fun. And I remember there's one video out there which is on control charts. So that is on my channel. By the way, did you guys know? I don't know. That there is this. Oh, hold on. What is this? Oh, no. Sorry, I was trying to switch. No, this is good enough. So there's a search box on YouTube right here, and that lets you searches in that channel. So if you go in there and say control, you're gonna find at least that video. Yeah, but beyond that, hit me up with like a specific case that you have, and yeah, we're constantly kind of looking for ideas and so forth for new videos. So we might cover that. Or of course, if you're stuck somewhere, bring it up in this meeting. It's like, hey, Avi, this is what I'm trying to do in here, and it's not working for me. So we can solve that as well. All right, folks. So I'm not seeing a new question pop up on YouTube. Oh wait, did Bella join? Oh, did I totally ignore her? Bella, it seems you're on. Go ahead, unmute yourself. Okay, it shows you unmute. Okay, but I didn't think I hear anything. Can you hear me on the Zoom call? Yeah, I'm not sure. Audio, how do I certainly see you there. Hello. Okay, let's see. Okay, well, boy, Mike would have been really nice. Bella.
Hello.
Hi. Oh, so magical to hear your voice. Finally, when the technology gods align. How are you doing, Bella?
I'm fine, thank you.
Awesome. Great. So, can you tell me your question again? I know you asked in the chat.
Yeah, there's a table I have,
Mm-hmm.
and it has a username for all the working staff in a
Yes.
company.
You got it.
And it has a manager ID related to that username. Like a user has a working staff has one, a manager
Got
over
it.
top of the.
Got
So
it.
it's like the username is the manager ID too.
Got
If
it.
you can
Makes sense.
understand.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I need to find out the country of the managers.
Yes.
Like there's a country column given for all the people, but I need to specifically find for the managers only.
Manager ID. Got it. Country. Ooh. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Hierarchical. Hey, so if you have me on YouTube, just put me on mute over there. Hierarchical.
For all the people, but I need to specifically find for the managers only.
Okay. All right. So hierarchical data. Find country of manager. Ooh, this is a good one.
Love it, love it, love it.
So Bella, yeah, it seems like you have me on YouTube as well, and that's feeding back with a delay. So yeah, just put me on mute there. Okay.
Yeah, on the YouTube.
Got it. Yeah, so yeah, just put me on mute there. Manager and so wait, can you like shut me up on YouTube? Close it, mute it, do something there. Oh, yeah. Can you do that?
What?
Can you close the YouTube window? It seems like that's still on your end.
I closed it. I've closed it.
Okay, awesome, great. And I'll share my screen and we'll see how far we can get. So this one is I like this one. What do I call it? Okay. All right. So let's go to trusty Excel. Oh boy. I have a feeling about this, Bella. Hey, while I'm kind of prepping the data set, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, maybe a bit about yourself, a bit about your Power BI journey?
Well, I'm a newbie only. I just started doing Power BI.
Yeah.
I'm just a student only. I'm in my 4th year.
Yes.
So it's
Great.
kind of really hard for me to understand all of this. But I'm trying because I've done data analysis using Python. So it's kind of like new journey for me.
Yeah.
Learning
Okay.
DAX and query editor and everything.
Okay, great. That's awesome. But Bella, I want you to, stop beating yourself up. All right. So folks, if you noticed, and believe me, I know this because I guess I do this too. Of course, we all do it. Is that how many times we bring ourselves down when there's really no need to do that. So how many times she kind of used words like newbie, I'm just, right? And Bella, I see you differently.
Okay.
So there's this guy. Let me see you and find him. And hey, sometimes the side conversations are kind of better. So let's see if we can find him. So this kid. Oh boy, he has a fucking website. That's insane. Machine learning. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah. So Sharon Jangyani. Yeah, he had this Welcome to the Jungle. Let's find him. So I had brought him on as an intern. And
Okay.
and yeah, back when he's in UW, and yeah, we got started on kind of Power BI, and of course he's kind of taken off, and he was in the same place that you are. It was like, yeah, just getting started. I'm new to this and all that sort of stuff. But look what it led to, right? I mean, it opens this door, and if you keep walking through that, man, it can lead to an amazing place. So, so what he did is after he interned with me, which frankly didn't kind of go anywhere. Sometimes it doesn't work out, So I mean, we had the best intentions, but we couldn't really do anything. But the seed was planted, and that was the most important thing. And then he went on and got a like a real internship at a company and introduced them to Power BI. His job wasn't even Power BI. He was intern for something else, some weird stuff, and he just stayed late one day and built something for them in Power BI, and it blew them away, and it set them on a whole new direction. That company is now adopting Power BI. And of course he's moved on to kind of bigger, better things now, right? So I don't see you that way. I don't see you. I mean, sure. Can you use these words to describe yourself? You clearly can. But I see you as that. Oh my gosh, Bella, it's unbelievable what you have discovered, and I feel so jealous, totally Jay, that you discovered it so early in your career. I mean, for me it was like this is my life, and then poof, Power BI, and boy, what if I had discovered it here, right, earlier. So that's how I see you. And of course, when you mentioned Python, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's serious shit, right? So my friend, he jokes. I don't think he ever joked with me. I think he was being serious, and he said, Avi, if you don't know R, you can't call yourself a business analyst. So R, Python, I mean, I bucket them in the same category. I certainly bucket them in the same category because I don't know either of them. So and from what I heard from my friend, and he's pretty big. He teaches university and so forth. That this is pretty much the de facto knowledge of folks who are serious about data analysis. So I see that you're in an awesome position. You're in that launch pad, ready to take off. So I would say just you don't have to use these words. I'm saying, I found Power BI. Yeah, so just all right. Side note there. All right, cool. Let's get back to the point. So let's get back here. So we're gonna say employee ID. I'm gonna say like 50. And manager ID. Oh, let's put some names as well, just so we know. And we're gonna say name, and we'll say Steve, John, Stacy, and my friend Layla. All right, and I think she's in New Zealand. And let's put these in different places. USA and over in Canada. Where are you based out of, by the way? Where you go to school? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you based out of?
I'm in India. I'm from India.
All right. Terrific. Well, yeah, you probably guessed it. I'm from India too. I grew up in Delhi.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So I spent like 20 years there, and you come here, and you do acclimatize. The first year was hard. But yeah, at some point I realized that, man, I've spent more time here than in India. So I don't know. All right, cool. But of course, the world is changing so fast. Of course, the job that I do now, the kind of work that I do, you can do it from anywhere. And Power BI consulting, I mean, you can have clients worldwide, and quite a few of my students do, and that's awesome, I think. All right, so manager ID, let's have Steve report to this, and this one report to this, and this one maybe So student report is 60. Maybe I want two of them. Maybe let's do this one is 70, and this one reports to 80, and this one is maybe that top big boss. All right, something like that. All right, so we just want to figure out. So I'm just going to do it. So you probably heard me say this. I always say human learning comes before machine learning. So how would a human do it? Well, I'll say Steve is 50, his manager is 70. Oh, 70 is right here, and that is Germany. So I'm just going to put Germany there. Fair enough, right? That I just want to make sure that I have the problem correctly identified. That's how a human would do it, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So now we just need to teach kind of Power BI how to do it. So this one actually has two different ways of doing it. And I think I'm going to go ahead and award you the gold star right away. Because this, yeah, I had a good feeling about it, and I haven't been proven wrong. So you're the lucky gold star recipient. Let me go grab a gold star from somewhere here. Oh boy.
When you ask something mean?
So the gold star is a very high standard. So you need three things to get a gold star. You need to ask me a question which has a real business application, right? So not a theoretical one. It's like, oh, what if we did this and that happened, and then I'm not interested in that. So this is clearly a real business application. You're working with, real business scenario, and you get the gold star. But it seems simple, but it's not. It's kind of more nuanced, right? There's some. There's some detail in there. So yeah, to this one, your question meets all of those. For one, because this has the classic that I love, which is this whole query editor versus DAX thing. And generally, this is like cut and dried. Query editor is used for cleaning, shaping, and transforming data, and DAX is used for doing math. But I love the areas where it's not quite as clear. And I think this is one of this. Okay, cool. So let's go on this journey and see where we end up. So I'm going to go over here. And should I start a new file? Oh, gosh. Maybe not. Maybe let's just do this thing. So I'm going to say enter data. And cool, we got that. And employees, let's just call it that. And I'm gonna click edit. All right, it's coming up. Hey, have you looked into using Python inside Power BI yet?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, and again, one day I'm gonna go back to. By the way, the person who said that if you don't know R, you're not a real business analyst. He's like one of my mentors, Greg Weber. So one day I want to go back and make him proud. So it's on my to-do list to learn one of these languages. Anyway. All right, so we're in here. So, and that's why, I kind of talked about the gold star, because this is nuanced, because I think this can be solved both in query editor and DAX. And right now, I don't know which one is better. Let's find out. So we'll probably solve it through both and let's come back and see it. So employee ID, manager ID, name, country. All right, so we got that. So first thing, I'm going to solve it in the query editor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this source. Let's call this source. And because I'm going to do it two ways, so I'm going to make maybe two copies of it. So employee source, and then I'm going to reference this one. And this one I'm going to call solution one query editor. Okay, so nothing done yet. So now what we're going to do is basically merge the table with itself. Ooh, it's interesting. Well, we can do this in M code, but maybe I'll cheat. I'll just say employee source. I'll say reference, and I'll disable load, and I'll just say maybe I'll call this one managers. And for this one, maybe I'll just managers. Okay, that's good enough. All right, so I go back to my main table, and I'm going to say I want to merge this with that other table that I just created. So click merge and go to employee managers. Now what I want to do is, again, human learning comes before machine learning, right? So what was a human doing? Human was going to this record, right? So imagine this line, forget about everything else. So I'm on this line and I'm saying, okay, I'm here, I got 50, manager ID is 70, so I look this manager ID up in the employee ID table, right? And I find 70. So that's the way we're gonna merge. We're gonna look up the manager ID here in the employee ID. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right, perfect. Yep. So yeah, human learning, machine learning. So human did that. So we're gonna match these two, and that's it. And expand it, and we're gonna say, yeah, let's just go with that. Bingo. So is it this does this seem like, kind of the right approach? Do you think we kind of solved it? Yeah, I hope so.
I guess so.
Awesome, great. So we solved one way, and you can run with that, right? So and when you're starting out, the query editor in DAX, people often it feels easier to learn the query editor. I love the tool; it's amazing. DAX feels a little harder.
Yes.
It's not necessarily so,
Yeah.
but it can feel that way. But it's like a game of tennis. Man, I should really start playing tennis because I use so many tennis analogies. So imagine in tennis if you only had a forehand, just didn't have a backhand, or had a really weak backhand. So if you're not strong on both sides, that's how your game is going to look like. You're going to push yourself into awkward spots. If your ball is a little bit to your left, if you're right-handed like me, you're gonna have to work extra hard to move to the side and make sure you can hit it on your forehand. So yes, it just makes things a little unbalanced. So eventually you do want to get the balance, like I'm thinking Star Wars now. Bring balance to the Force. So eventually you do want to get there, but initially it's okay to be a little more focused on one side. So query editor, this one is good, and you can run with it. Now I'm gonna try to solve it using DAX solution. You don't necessarily have to do that, but I'm just going to do it because I think it's going to be fun. I may even fail, which is always even more exciting, and it's going to be a good contrast.
That's what I asked for about too. It was more about working through the DAX.
Oh, really? But wait, hey, I mean, so what I often say is that there are lots of Power BI problems that I cannot solve. There's stuff that I see online which people are doing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that I don't understand. I don't get any of that. But I can solve any business problem, right? So sometimes, yeah, I mean, as long as you can kind of solve it, it's good, right? So it's query editor, you already have the solution now. So let's just solve it in DAX as well, or try to, and we can come back and compare these two.
I thought it might work it like that. Like we have to iterate. Like
Yeah.
we have to look like one employee ID, and then we have to search it up for like one manager ID in the employee ID if it's there. Then you
Yeah.
put the country in the manager country column.
Yeah. Yeah, actually,
Is it
say,
right approach?
well, yeah, but how do you do that? Frankly, right now I'm like, I don't even know. So, man, I don't remember the last time I did a new column. So yeah, that is, oh boy, this one is like double gold star. So I think DAX, there are two approaches. So query editor, we already solved it. So let's go back, query editor. So this we solved it, and DAX I feel has one option which is using the hierarchy, and the other option is using just to write out kind of like a lookup formula. Oh boy, so what I'm saying is that if I'm on this row, filter the table on this employee ID. Okay, yeah. I'm going to take a shot. And again, I don't remember the last time I did a calculated column. Usually I'm working with measures, so I feel a little bit out of my comfort zone, but that's all right. So let's go here. So if I say manager country, so I'll say, not really sure, what do I need? Selected value. Let's start with filter. So I'm going to say filter, and I'm going to say all employees DAX. So give me all table, but then give me employee DAX. I want their employee ID to be the manager ID for this row. Makes sense, right?
Yes.
But I think if I get it right, I think the way to say that this, like when you're going through, okay, you know what, let me just see if it works. If it doesn't, it's no point explaining it, right? So if it doesn't work, then it's just wrong. Oh shoot, it didn't work. So okay, of course, filter, so it didn't work. That's all right. So how do I say first, maybe I say first non-blank. I just want to get a single value. Oh gosh. Oh man, let's try this. Calculate. So calculate, give me selected value of country. Manager. Oh yeah, okay. Where all of that is true. Let's see. Whew. All right. Let's check. So Germany, New Zealand, and do we have the query editor one? We do have. This is the query editor one. Germany, New Zealand. So we got that. All right, cool. So again, I mean, frankly, for one, I was talking about how it's easy to swim with the flow in Power BI. The flow in Power BI is you do data cleanup, clean shape transform, what I call the cooking, in the kitchen of Power BI, which is query editor. So frankly, I mean, if you gave me a choice between this and what I did in the query editor, I would always take the query editor because again, it's got so many advantages. I mean, you can go step by step. You can exactly see what's going on. That's one challenge within this. So Bella, do you use Excel much at all?
No, not really.
Okay,
I
great.
hardly
So
use Excel.
all right, and you don't need to, right? I mean, this is what I call like the leapfrog effect, right? So in US, everybody got landlines before they got cell phones. India, we didn't get that. A very, very small percentage got landlines, but now everybody has cell phones. And imagine the money they saved, the time and effort they saved. Is the same with the new age now. Most of our old schoolers went through that Excel route, then learned Power BI, and in that process had to unlearn a lot of baggage we came with Excel. But you don't have any of the baggage, so you don't need Excel. But I'm going to speak to the Excel crowd for really quick for those who are listening. So, folks, this is one thing. So again, the discussion that I was having with this other Power BI expert who said, how can they get away with this? How can they make something so complicated? And I think Power BI team can do more, and they're incredible. They're incredibly amazing. And I have no idea if it's technically how hard or easy it is, but if you're in Excel, macros, I love Power BI a lot more than macros because macros begin this jumble of things and it has its own problems. But one thing they do have going for them is the debug mode. And pretty much any programming language has that where you can go debug mode and go step by step. You can't do that with DAX. If DAX had that, if DAX could take me step by step through this formula and just kind of somehow visually show me what's going on, it would make it so much easier. All right, cool. So let's do one thing here. So first thing we're going to do is, so the folks whose stuff that I have difficulty understanding, the Italians, and Marco Russo, Alberto Ferrari, he had a joke once, and he said it's not a DAX measure unless it's formatted correctly. And I kind of agree with him. So yeah, let's format it. Let's bring it back over here. And we haven't even done the second approach yet. Maybe we should do that first. Ooh, yeah, let's try that. Okay, so let's employ DAX 1. We got that. I'm gonna go back to so Bella, for you, I would highly recommend the query editor solution. I think I'm convinced at this point. When we were starting out, I wasn't sure, um, but still, let's explore. Let's see if we can do the second DAX solution, and and what?
Yeah, I prefer
Yeah,
doing through the query editor only, but it was like I
yeah,
had the PX file only,
yeah.
so it didn't have the source connections, so it wasn't loading. So I had to go through for
Oh,
the
I see what
DAX.
you're saying. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Um, yeah, that can be a challenge sometimes. I remember times where Query Editor came late to the game. Initially, when Power BI, this technology came out, of course, it had different names, Project Gemini, Power Pivot, but it was the same engine. So first, the DAX engine was there. Um, and frankly, if somebody sent me like a Power BI model, yeah, there was no query editor. I didn't really need a connection to the source, but now with the query editor, you do. You can solve it sometimes by connecting another Power BI model to a Power BI model, but yeah, it's not that much fun. I try not to do that. All right, cool. Let's come back here, and we're going to solve it a second way. Apply changes. So tell me, just curious, how did you first get introduced to Power BI? First hear about it?
Well, I went for an interview for
Mm-hmm.
internship,
Yeah.
and they gave the interview, and they were like, what platform do you use for data analysis? Like,
Yeah.
I haven't started using any
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah.
So like, they were like, okay, we use Power BI,
Uh huh.
and would you like to join?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Exciting.
Like, I was like, okay, I've cracked the interview. I was happy for that only.
Yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely. Absolutely. Oh,
absolutely join Power BI. Like, it's a new thing.
incredible.
Why not?
Oh gosh, yeah, and I'm telling you, I mean, so yeah, I mean, anybody who says that, oh, I'm just getting started, this, I don't like, stop. You realize you're strapped onto a rocket at the launch pad, headed for Moon or Mars or somewhere exciting. Would you rather be anywhere else? Yeah, so it's a great position to be in. Absolutely. I mean, yeah. Generally, what I recommend people is that use Power BI as like a superpower, in the sense that, and generally I advise that don't try to become like a Power BI person, but try to become like, I don't know, like I focus on sales, I focus on marketing. I think the gentleman who I was talking to earlier, Julian, he was talking how he helps HR personnel, I think, right? So you say, I do that, but with Power BI, and that becomes incredibly powerful. And that also counters the effect as more and more people come into Power BI, you're not going to be like threatened by them. I mean, otherwise, if it's just Power BI person, as more people come into this market, they can like bring down the whatever the hourly or the salaries or something. But so yeah, I would recommend figuring out like a business niche and using Power BI as a superpower. Okay, so what I'm looking for here is I've forgotten the formulas. So DAX hierarchy, something like that. Oh, perfect. The SQL BI folks to the rescue. Parent child attitude. Yeah. I just want to know what the functions are. Oh, path. Okay. Ooh. Oh man, this is interesting. You can create these. Oh bloody hell! I've done this, but path item. Okay. You know what? Maybe I would pause there. But I think there is another way to solve it through this hierarchy. And this can be useful if the scenario was a little bit different. So imagine if you didn't just need the manager's country, but you needed to kind of create a hierarchy. Like if people are reporting to different people, like, I mean, you wanted to build something like this. Like, yep, I want to build kind of an org chart. Then that approach path item would be there. Cool. So, but yeah, so I mean, that's a good approach for some scenarios, but for you, I think the query editor was the best. All right. Well, hopefully we'll hear more from you as you continue on this journey.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Folks, that was pretty incredible. And, and I chickened out. Pat, Adam, do explore that. So, by the way, and I like this question right away because when I talk about query editor versus DAX, and I talk about this balance, right, where query editor is usually for clean shape transform, right? I mean, that should be your default. If you're doing any query shape transform, like I don't remember who was asking me, like, hey, how do I create a calendar table in DAX? I'm like, why? Why would you do that, right? So their default should be in the kitchen when you're cooking, right? And then when you're doing math, you need to be in DAX. So that's a default.
Just,
yeah, go ahead, Bella. What? Yeah.
It's like my mentor tells me, like, instead of doing more query editor, you should go for the DAX. So it's like that's why I have to more and
but I would say you don't feel, you definitely want to get there. You want to get it balanced, but it's all right. I mean, if you solve something in query editor, it's okay. Who was I talking to? Was it Julian again? That how he was saying that every time he gets better, right? So right now you may solve something like, oh, right now I only know query editor, so I'm going to solve it this way. In a month, you're going to look back at that like, oh, okay, why did I do it that way? Or, so that's inevitable. In general, you want to get kind of parity. It's not like DAX is better. It's just that, there's a natural order of things kind of thing, right? The flow in Power BI is you do your cooking in the kitchen, and then you do your math in DAX, and that's the general rule. And if you go with that, you're going to be swimming with the flow. I see people doing the opposite, and it becomes really a struggle. So, folks, coming back to why I liked Bella's question is that it touched upon something. So generally, those are the rules, but not always. So I love the exceptions, and I love this kind of living on the edge where we run into scenarios where it's like, oh, generally, we are trying to clean shape transform data. In this case, I would say transform data, and that generally should be query editor, but maybe not. So the hierarchy, not the scenario that Bella presented, but the hierarchy where you're trying to figure out an org chart, you can do that in query editor, but I think the path and path item make it so easy in DAX that this is actually one of the exceptions where you exception that proves rule, I guess. Where generally when I'm doing this, when I'm trying to flatten an hierarchy, figure out an org chart, then I do that in DAX, not in the query editor. So again, not the scenario that Bella had, but close to that. So I was just thrilled that it kind of touched upon that. Cool. So folks, let's check in. Charles, Jeff, Julian on the phone. If you have any questions, you guys are up. So we tag back in between the folks on the phone or Learn Power BI family.
I had a question, Avi.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was about what's the strategy for documenting all your advanced queries and your measures? Because once you've created a lot of Power BIX, PBIX files, you've got all these measures and advanced queries created, and there should be some commonality that you can leverage. So what's the best way to do that?
All right, so so I haven't played much with it, but I have a feeling that the advanced queries part, that may data flows may be kind of the thing there. It's not directly answering your question. It's not documenting, but data flows can kind of standardize the query editor side of things, right? So if one person has already done something once, then it doesn't need to be kind of repeated again. by other people, and of course you can reuse it in there as well. So there is something there. Data flows, I think, should be looked at. Otherwise, I think that I hope it's there. I think one of the M wizards, I think Ken Pulse or one of those guys, have created a script which dumps out the query editor M code. Now, as far as I remember, the last I checked, that they had done this for Excel. Maybe, I hope that this has already been done. This is now being done for Power BI as well. So yeah, you could do that. Imagine you run something and just dumps out all of it. And what I like about that is that really, if you're at that level where you're thinking about documentation, probably a few things are happening or may happen soon. So so one, you're certainly working at kind of an advanced level, right? Maybe you're also starting to think about kind of change requests. So earlier, when I started on this journey, if I needed to make a change to the model, I just changed it, right? But at some point, I had to be more thoughtful. I'd say, hey, would this impact anything? Can it break anything? And then, of course, you sometimes do kind of staging environments where you say, this is my dev, this is my test environment, and this is my production. And of course, you can have more layers. 3 is usually enough, or even just 2 layers are enough, dev and production, right? So just go with that. So you're doing things like that, and again, I mean, this may or may not happen right now, but if you get into multiple authors, so you're living in that kind of space, and again, even if this is not there, even if it's just a single author, once you start thinking like that, then you probably need some kind of a source control. And I think there are free ones out there. There's Subversion and things like that. I think SharePoint Document Library can do check out and check in, and so forth. And the cool thing about source control is being able to kind of run a diff, say, hey, what changed between this and this, and then be able to merge or something like that. Just being able to diff, like, oh, this is what changed. I get it, right? I mean, imagine you have 50 different queries in a model, or maybe more, maybe 100 queries. That's not uncommon for a real model. And you just want to see, before you push it to production, right? So again, you're living in this world, which is, hey, how many changed? And if something can tell you that, oh, these 2 query changed, and then you go, oh man, I remember changing this one. What about this other one? Oh, and then you look at the diff and you say, oh my God, that's a mistake. I was just debugging something, right? So it can really help you, really, really help you. It's really save your skin. So for this stuff, I love this idea, because then you can source control it. Then you can check in those M text files, and be able to do kind of a diff. Not really merge, that wouldn't make sense, but just being able to say what changed, 2 queries changed. So that is one idea. Measures are far easier. I can speak with more confidence because the idea is as simple. You kind of dump out the definition, and I dump out more. So measures. So I'll show you. I'll point you to a blog which I've done a really long time ago. I do want to update it, but automatic self-documenting. I think it was done back in the PowerBIPro days, but it still applies. Data dictionary, I think I called it. I now don't think like that. I use more. It's the same idea, but I think of it as like kind of self-documenting or something like that. So I'll put the link here, and I'll put it in our chat window as well. All right, cool. So if you go back here, let's see. Oh yeah. So the goal was to build something like this, and I know better now. So I wouldn't give it this weird names like dimensions. Like this would be lookup tables, and measures. Maybe I'll still simplify it and I'll call it formulas. Because for one, I'm building this not just for myself. I'm building for others who use the model to create the reports. And again, attributes I'll call fields or something like that. But you dump everything out programmatically from your model. It dumps out the measures and the definitions. It dumps out the tables. It dumps out all the relationships. And then you build build something out of it. Now, of course, this thing was created a long time ago, March 11, 2014. So how I would do it now is the dumping out part is not that different. The main way to do that is DAX Studio. There might be other ways you can do it, which you may even be able to program, like you can have it be run automatically. At least the approach that I know, it doesn't run automatically, but it's pretty simple. So you would go to DAX Studio, connect to your model, and use the DMU language to just dump out your measure definitions and everything. So let's actually write it down here. It's kind of the new approach. The new approach would be, for measures at least, that go to DAX Studio. Oops, what happened there? Go to DAX. Oh, something is going on here. Come on. Okay, that worked. DAX Studio, and then use DMV, Data Management Views, to dump out all. It's called metadata, I think, like data about data. So this is like your measures, tables, relationships, etc. And then I would use query editor. So so Power BI query editor to basically clean it into a neat shape, presentable shape, right? So I want to be able to present to the audience something like this, like, oh, these are the measures, this is how the definition, this is the description, and so forth. So let me just do this. So DAX Studio, I'm connected to my Power BI model, and now what I can do is go to this third tab at the bottom, DMV, not Department of Motor Vehicles, Data Management Views. If it was DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, it would be the same, but it would be really, really slow. I'm just kidding. All right, and MD schema, that's the stuff you're looking for. And here you have dimensions, which are kind of tables, I guess, and measures, and there are other stuff in there. One of these is relationships. It's somewhere there. All right, so and so let's try measures. Let's just try, and you just double click it, and it puts that syntax in here, and it looks like SQL. It is not, because if you start doing like SQL, if you start writing SQL, you would realize that eventually it'll complain. It'll say, nope, I don't know what you're saying. So it looks like SQL. It's not. And you run this, and you can dump it out. You can say output to a text file and just run it again. That's it, right? So you dump it to a file, and then clean it up, because a lot of it is like garbage. I mean, or at least not something you want to show. So I would pull this in to either another Power BI model or the same model, and I love doing that. So you're building a model, and you then dump out the model's definition, and then pull it back inside the model. And that way, anybody who's working with a model, maybe creating a report, if they get stuck somewhere, the help is right there. They don't have to go anywhere else. It's like right there. So, oh, let me look at the definition. Let me look if these two, So yeah, it's unbelievable. So you clean it in a neat shape, bring it in, bring it into a separate or the same model that you started with. Oh, I thought I had one other thought in there. That's it. What do you think? Do you think it helps? Do you have any questions?
Oh yeah, that's I think that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Cool. So I'll give you one other thing here. Let me see. So of course, all I know about data modeling was taught to me by my mentor, Greg Weber, the guy who says that I'm not an analyst because I don't know R, same guy. And he taught me from the Kimball book, Data Warehousing by Design. Oh gosh, so I'm trying to think. I have the book up here. I forget what it's called. Kimball has a name for it, but the way, imagine if you have something like that. So I call it data tables. Kimball calls it fact tables. So I have, let's say I have sales, and I have budget, and I have support calls, and I have warehouse inventory, and anything else, right? I mean, warehouse shipments, and on and on and on. Doesn't matter. And of course, depending on your business, this would be whatever your fact tables are. And then on the top, you would have the who, what, where, and how. And these are pretty robust. So the what is a product, calendar is almost always there. And then let's say you have the customer, maybe you have the employee as well. Maybe you have something else. Maybe you have a time table as well. What else? Who, what, where, and how. Maybe marketing has a promotion, something like that. So you can imagine a set of lookup tables. And then I always imagine it as kind of a pegboard, right? And Kimball has a name for it, which I forget. So sales, let's do this. So sales is connected to product, is connected to calendar, it's connected to customer. It's not connected to employee in our case, let's say, right? And we don't care about time in this case, and there is a promotion. Budget, we do budget at the product, and you can mark it X even if it's not at the SKU level. So, but it's at a product category. So as that, we of course have the time, even though it's not at the same grain, it's at a month level, and that's okay. We don't budget at a customer level in this case. There's no employee time or promotion dimension. For support calls, there is an employee one. We do track time because we want to understand the call volumes during different times of day. Do we have a customer? I don't know. I guess let's say we do, and let's say we have product as well, right? So we say, what do they complain about, who called, and so forth, right? And of course, you can imagine this pegboard like this. So what I love doing is take the DMV information and create visually this pegboard and make it part of the documentation. In anybody else who obviously this is not for like complete lay people, but who has some sense of like the data and the lookup table, if you give this, so again, what I'm talking about here is, and every Power BI person out there who's doing this stuff, right now you're doing it for yourself, right? But you have the capability, because I went through the same journey, where what you're creating right now, why can it not be used by hundreds or thousands of users? Sooner or later, you're going to create something like that, which it's not going to be you. It's going to be thousands of users, hundreds of users out there who are using it. So, and this really kind of elevates that game, kind of brings you up to that level. So at this level, I mean, you're not necessarily encountering more advanced DAX or query editor problem, but it's the other stuff. It's what Melinda Gates calls the delivery mechanism. So Melinda Gates, I've been reading her new book, Monolith. Great book, by the way. Great book because it has so much Power BI knowledge in there. Melinda Gates doesn't know it, but she's talking about Power BI. No, just kidding. Well, it's odd. Sometimes the same things apply. So what she's talking about, the science is there, but the delivery mechanism isn't there. Vaccines have been there for a long time, right? Polio vaccines have been there for a long, long time. I think it was invented in like 1950s. And first, U.S. perfected its delivery mechanism, and polio was eradicated in the U.S. But in India, it happened just a few years ago, right? So you see the lag there, right? So there are two ways to play the Power BI game, right? One is you keep getting skilled up, right? So you keep researching new vaccines, or you can say, F that. What I know is good enough. I'm just going to focus on getting it out there, right? So, and neither approach is good or bad, right? But yeah, so there's this. So at some level, depending on path you take, you can like zero down, like, oh, I'm going to be like a DAX ninja, or you can say, no, I'm going to bring it to. How can I bring it to 10, 100,000, 10,000 more people, right? So that's a delivery mechanism problem. So yeah, when you're at this level, you're dealing with some of the delivery mechanism stuff, and that is where things like this are invaluable, right? Versus you just build a model and it's very sophisticated. It's got the best measures. We got the best measures, and yeah, it's not gonna do any good if you don't do the other stuff. So, all right, cool. So Jeff, boy, that was a good question. I think that I'm hoping that would have helped some other folks out there as well.
Hey, so when is your mentor going to come on and do a master class for us?
Yes, believe me, I've thought about it. I'm yes, we should do that. We should do that. I'm slightly afraid that yeah, he's good. He's good. Yeah, he's not gonna say
We
no.
want to get better at data modeling too.
Oh boy, yeah, these guys are brilliant. So once I was so this was asked in the class once, and the scenario was that it was a really simple scenario, really simple scenario, and I've seen it lots of times. It was like order. That was one thing here, and then there was order details, and I think this one was coming from dynamics, although this could be anywhere. And the question was that should we flatten it or not? And I gave one answer to the student, right? So my answer to them was that let's approach it from a kind of economy perspective, like what takes less disk space, and hence the memory footprint is smaller. So my theory was that if you flatten it, it's going to compress better. And it did. And I was like, whoa, awesome, right? So, and again, but they're not given in this. You have to try it. You have to try it with your data. So you flatten it and it said, yep, the file is much smaller. I'm like, awesome, that's the way to go then. So I asked this to Greg, and of course he had a much more nuanced answer. I was like, kind of he started with, it depends, and then he kind of explained on that. So yeah, we would have them. But one thing I feel I need is that I don't really know what to ask him. Like he has so much knowledge. Like I don't know if you have like specific questions. Or so what about these scenarios? Yeah, so we'll see. Maybe we'll just ask questions. Like, hey, I'm going to invite Greg Weber. Give me some hard hitting, challenging data modeling questions. Good one. All right, thanks, mate. All right, folks. So Tag, you're at YouTube crowd. I haven't been paying attention to you. Let's see what's going on. Danny's looking for votes. Hey, let's vote for it. Mikola, hey, so our students get to hang out with me on the phone. You should be hanging out with me on the phone, but thanks for calling out. Oh, actually, you know what? It's cool. Loretta Sue, I know she always joins on YouTube. So yeah, whichever way you join, doesn't matter. Good to have you here, Mikola. Is it possible to use filter buttons to activate drill downs? Yes, I believe so. Getting used to clicking for drill downs. It is. Now, folks, I'll say this, that and again, Power BI team, love them to death. They're amazing. They're really amazing. Drill down for default. Can I work on it? What? Sign in. What? Oh gosh, I'll come back to it. I'll vote for it. Promise. All right. So yes, that's a good one. Marks is an option. Okay, cool. So let's tackle what's going on. Oh man, I'm always happy when we start getting to like the 3-hour zone. So oddest thing is, my friends. So I would say this to my students, and you know how your grandma, your mom used to tell you to come back on time. And they would say like, oh, nothing good ever happens after this time, right? So nothing good happens after 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock, right? So you gotta be back home. And my joke was like, no, gosh, the good stuff happens after that. Of course, kids always think that way. Like, yeah, that's when the after party, that's where it's at, right? That's when things really get livened up. So sometimes in our, so the same document that we have for Talk Power BI, the public one, we have the same one for our class. And I'll pull it up really quick. So we do the calls with them, and for a while at least there was this phenomena where inevitably some of the questions that came kind of the end were the really good ones. So yeah, you can see, this is our class one. So yeah, we run it the same way we do. It's just a smaller group, a little bit private group, a little more intimate. So that's fun for us. But yeah, so Mikola certainly has a good one over there, which I've forgotten now. Avi and your stories. For this one, okay, got it. All right, 11:45. Mikola. Let's see. Okay. Activate drill down using buttons. This is a good idea, I think. This is okay. All right, so let's do. I might as well save this file because this has like 3 generations in it. This has the Julian's solution, reverse month sort. This has Bella's solution. Folks, by the way, you can get these files if you go to talkpowerbi.com, and all the other files from the past, and access to the notes that we have, and you can search through that and so forth. Gosh, I gotta mention this, and I'm like so in awe of it. So, folks, for the live calls, I love doing these live calls. I love the interaction, and of course, if you've seen, we're trying to make it a little more interactive, and we're trying to put more voices on here rather than just me. I think at some point people would, it's more fun to hear more voices. So we've been doing kind of panel discussions and stuff. We had the women in Power BI. Before that, we have done future of Power BI. Before that, we have done agile BI, all of that sort of stuff. So that's exciting. Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's come back here. 219.06.07. Let's save this file. And what we're going to say, this is Julian, month, descending, Bella, which is employee, manager, country, and now what are we doing? Button, drill down, Nicola. Wow. Okay, all rolled into one. So love the Power BI team, but I realize they have a lot on the plate, right? But to me, it's starting to feel like that it's kind of like, kind of Apple versus Android kind of thing. So they have built this marketplace where people can come in, do their own visuals, and there's lots of them out there. And that's great. That's great. Sometimes you're looking for something very specific, and Custom Visual does it for you, and you're like, boy, that's awesome. And of course, this is like a full-fledged marketplace now, because some of these are premium or freemium, where they give you a little bit for free, and then you have to pay for it, in-app purchases and all that stuff. So yeah, it's evolved into that. But and again, it's a great move. I mean, that's what revolutionized the phone industry, right? The apps. So it's a brilliant move. But if you contrast this with kind of where Tableau is, and hey, who knows? I mean, Tableau might copy this idea as well. But Tableau, they are very focused on kind of visuals, and they make sure that the visuals are kind of high quality and they work. Which I'm not saying Power BI team doesn't do that, but they got a lot on their plate. So I feel that doing this marketplace, maybe there's a little bit of element where Power BI team has taken their eyes off on this a little bit, right? I think the drill down has always been a shitty experience. It was much worse before they did these changes. So these are new. It's marginally better, but it's still. I don't think it's the best UI experience. So ironically, custom visuals are stepping in to fill that gap. There's zoom charts and that sort of stuff, which some of them have, and they show you what is possible. They show you that drill down experience can be very intuitive and discoverable, right? That's one of the challenges with this thing. It's not discoverable. Like, I don't really know, so so anyway, so let's try to do the button thing. So let's say I want to drill down to this. So let's say, I'm going to say, let's create a button. And this was taught to me by one of our students, Heather Rowe, who did a session on one of the earlier Talk Power BI, where she showed how she was using buttons and stuff. It was really cool, really impressive, right? So, and she taught me this trick where you have these left arrow, black arrow, all of that stuff, but you can use the blank one and give it your own text. So I'm going to use a blank button, and I wish they formatted it better than that, like the default format, but we can make it look like a button. So I'm going to fill it. I'm gonna give it this color, and I'm gonna make the outline a little rounded, round edges. Yes. Round. Did that work? I can't tell. Yeah, I think it kind of worked. let's make it bigger. Obviously, you're not going to have it that big. I'm just making it big so you guys can see it. So where did I do the round edges? I forgot now. Outline. I want to round it a little more. Okay, so that's looking good. And then I'm going to say button text on. And I'm going to say drill down. And of course, you can call it whatever you want. Padding, font, text size. Okay, so now let's go in there and bring out the bookmarks pane. Yes. And I'm going to drill down into the next level here, which would be, I don't know which one I want. Let's try this one. Let's see how that looks. Nope, horrible. Let's try this guy. Maybe for now, let's remove the budget from there, just to keep it simple. Okay, and if we say sort descending, sort by sales. Let's try that. Okay, cool. So that's looking good. All right, so we have the high level, which is categories, and then we have the drill down. So what I'm going to do is come over here and then add a bookmark and then rename it. Rename. And I say drill down. I don't know what happened. Did I click it twice? Oh gosh, what? Okay, got it. Actually, hold on. Did that really work? No, that didn't work. Okay, and I wanna. Can I update this? Update, yes. Cool. Okay, cool. So let's try that again. So let's see if the bookmark works. So I'm over here, and if I click on the bookmark, boom, I'm done. Okay, now all I need to do is attach this button to that bookmark. So I'm going to go to the button, and I think I can get rid of this bookmarks thing, and I'll say action. Right, so action. Oops, let's try that again. Action. Like we're shooting a movie. Action. Go. And we'll say bookmark, and we'll select drill down. Okay, so now let's say they open this report, and then now instead of fiddling with this control or any of this over here, they just click on this and boom, it's done. All right, so now of course, Mikola, you're gonna have to do a little bit more, and that's why I think, guys, it's not ideal for users to solve these things with these hacks. It's not ideal, and I am confident that Power BI team would eventually deliver something better, right? Because one of the statements that I've heard is, in fact, one guy was saying, I don't need DAX. I can do everything that I want in bookmarks. But I've seen some of those reports. They are scarily complicated. You know, I mean, just because they want to avoid DAX, they're doing such heavy lifting in bookmarks. And like, oh yeah, this links this, and then you click this, and then that happens, and then it shows you this, and this one filters that, and it's crazy. And right, so in the same way here, I mean, we did this work to give them a simple facility to drill down. Why, right? I mean, why shouldn't the interface be completely intuitive? And if you want to see an example of that, see how Zoom Charts does it for their pie chart. Now, I'm not a huge fan of pie chart, so it is what it is. But Zoom, where is it? Zoom. Oh, come on. I'm not really sure why we can't find it. Suggested for you. Did that search work even? I'm not sure why I can't find them. They're some of the best ones. So yeah, they show you an example of how it can be really, really easy and intuitive for a pie chart. They've solved that. It's doable. I mean, I couldn't have solved it. I would have. If you'd asked me, I'm like, I don't know, dude. I know there's a problem, right? So, but somebody smart out there can solve that, and so I feel that it can be solved for other type of charts as well, column and bar charts. Just give me an intuitive experience, intuitive way to drill down. It can be solved for pie chart. It can be solved for this. I don't know how, but it can. Don't give me this. Don't give me this workaround, because you're not done yet. You're not done yet. Now, I've shown you the way, but you're going to have to do more. You're going to have to do 2 buttons. One is going to say drill down. One is going to say drill up. Right? So you're going to have 2 buttons. And then when you click drill down, the drill down button hides itself and shows the other drill up button. And when they click drill up, that button hides itself and shows the drill down button. And of course, you're controlling it the same way by bookmarks, right? So you're going to create one bookmark and hide this, show that, hide this, show that. But think about it. It's terrible, right? I mean, just give me an intuitive thing. All right, so I'm gonna shut up there. And again, gosh, I love the Power BI team to death. For one, they feed my kids. I mean, this is it. This is all that I do. I mean, people sometimes ask me, like, "Oh, are you going beyond Power BI?" I'm like, "Not really, mate." If anything, I'm going deeper. And the odd thing has been that in business, so my business coaches taught us about niching down and focusing and so forth. And it took me some time to learn those lessons. But now when I look back, I've had the best growth, right, when I focus down. And I think that applies even if you're not running a business, even if you, and don't be scared of that. I mean, people are scared. Oh, I'm gonna typecast myself, or I'm gonna, paint myself in a corner. Or one of those analogies. There's one that I'm missing, right? So I don't want to, kind of paint myself in a corner. It's like, just be about this guy. That's, oh, I just know this. Yeah, I think life works in weird ways, and frankly, for this one, I'm not 100% sure. Employee versus consultant. I know for a consultant, maybe for an employee as well, I think it's okay to kind of become specialized. And not to say that you're going to do that forever. I mean, I've seen my mentors go from really one thing to the next, right? So my mentor's journey has been, they kind of started off as a YouTuber, right? And then they went to podcast, and they were all over that. And then they started training people like me. And if you realize that, I mean, oddly enough, I don't know if this is a coincidence or whatever, but you've seen my journey where I started talking about just Power BI, but then I started talking about more stuff, kind of like stuff we did today. I talk about the inner success and outer success, and I felt brave enough to do that. And then, of course, the most recent thing that we've done is that I said, hey, how can I create that success for others? So if you go to learnpowerbi.com, that's a current effort, right? So we are, how can I, and here as well, I have narrowed down, and it's frankly scary every single time. So the first time we did this, now, by the way, the folks who have heard this story, is my mission was simple: to create more Justina Bucks and Pam Bakers. Who are they? Well, they are the famous ladies who truly inspire me. And of course, we have many inspirational stories. They're just some of the first ones, right? So they were the first ones who just kind of exploded. So again, if you go on my channel, just search for Justina and Pam. Actually, you can do it even better. You can scroll down, and you can look at what we call the success stories. Maybe it should be, and each and every one of these kind of inspire me. And Pam Baker and Justina Bucks both are there. So that was my inspiration, that how can I bring that success and bottle that, right? Bottle that so that I can give it to others, right? Why should it be only some? So again, I realized that Power BI isn't by itself a key to success. Power BI doesn't guarantee anything. Power BI doesn't guarantee you success in any realm, employee or consultant. Absolutely, I guarantee it, right? I mean, if you think Power BI is going to be your salvation, it's not. And I learned it painfully, because I did experience success. Power BI did transform my life. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to transform everybody's life. And so my tagline is still there on LinkedIn, I think. It's like, oh, Power BI transformed my life, and now I'm on a mission to spread it to others, something like that. Okay, I messed it up. But LinkedIn, it has the right words. But what I saw was that I was giving them Power BI, but it wasn't changing everyone's life. And that's not good enough for me. like, what? How can we figure out that what was it that worked for me, that worked for Justina, that worked for Pam, and bottle it. And man, I don't know. I think we kind of have. So of course, in the webinar here, I shared about some of the stories, and so we have had 10 amazing people, and I'll admit that these have had different levels of success. And I talked to my coach about it, and he said, Avi, that's always to be expected, because really their success isn't necessarily like I'm giving them the same coaching, same training, same support. Everybody's access to the same thing, but they're going to be in different situations. They're going to be, so we all approach it with kind of our all of our life lessons, and of course that sometimes determines the kind of action they take. So so yeah, the results can be different. Now, of course, so what I'm trying to do next time is that kind of so this I learned in Six Sigma. I said they talk about typically everything looks like a normal curve, right? So if you grade all the students, I have some superstars, right? Most people kind of fall in the middle, and some who who need a little more help, right? So what is the goal of process improvement? And for me, my process is training others. So your goal for process improvement is twofold, right? So for one, you can do two things, and you can do them sometimes simultaneously, sometimes one by one. Is one thing you can do is you tighten that curve, right? So you become more predictable. So I definitely want to do that. So that's what we're doing next round. It's like, okay, we learned a lot, and these people were awesome because they gave us a lot of feedback. Like, this worked, this didn't work. I'm like, okay, cool. So we're gonna keep the things that worked, throw away the things that didn't work, and that way I think we zeroed in, and so we can guarantee more success for more people. So bring it narrower, and often once you do, and this happens, by the way, with any process, any business process, warehouse, shipping, data, support tickets, anything. Once you tighten it, it also edges forward. So so then you can go on this journey where you most people, you're getting good success. So anyways, that's kind of my journey as a trainer. But what I was trying to say was that don't be afraid to niche down, and because I don't know, I mean, my coaches said it, and it's one of those things where I've kind of seen that in practice, but I can't necessarily prove it. I mean, I've seen a lot of evidence. I've heard them talk about it again and again. I've seen it in their lives. I'm just sharing kind of what happened with me. So every time I've narrowed down and focused down, it has helped me grow. So maybe it applies to, I know it applies in the consulting world. I think it probably applies in the employee world as well. So to walk you through my journey, when I started this program, we called it Six Figures Power BI Professional. It still has a name. But so Pam Baker, her route was that she hit it out of the park as an employee inside Volvo, and that's great. Amazing story. She's the one who has come back and now is teaching master classes inside of her program. She just did what if analysis, and boy, we had like 100+ people show up for that. That was pretty awesome. A lot more than how many show up for my Q&A calls. So that was pretty awesome. We're gonna have her back again, and we're gonna have other people on there. So that was in kind of the employee world. And then Justina Bucks is the consulting route for extra income clients worldwide, New York, London. Amazing, right? Amazing story. An amazing story because it's an amazing comeback. So she was on a maternity leave when she joined the course, and yeah, I mean, you turn her life around. Oh boy, it's just incredible, guys, to think about it. I mean, oh man, it's, yeah. Oh, there's a lot more to her story, by the way. There's a lot more to her story, which actually hasn't. So she shared quite a bit on her interview, but she didn't share all of it. And I know all of it, and there is struggle there, and there's stuff there that she overcame, and that's why I respect her. That's amazing, right? So that's kind of what I was doing, right? But then I realized that, again, I mean, less is more. So I said, you know what? There's quite a bit of overlap between employees and consultants as far as what I can teach them, which is going to make them super powerful. There's quite a bit of overlap, but it's not completely. They do need different things as well. Employees, when I talk to them, when somebody's in a company, I talk about different things with them. And then if somebody's on a consulting round, I talk about different things with them. So there's some overlap, but then there are other things as well. And I realized that I can't quite do both. So now we're going to narrow down. We're going to say for this round, we're looking for the next batch of these amazing folks in the Pro Plus program. we're only going to focus on the consulting side. So, and yeah, frankly, that's scary because the last group that we had, about 10 people, it was split half and half. So there were half folks who were either already consultants or knew that they wanted to be consultants. They were steadily moving in that direction or wanted to, right? But there was the other half which was like, well, yeah, I mean, this is great. I want to kind of explore it, maybe think about it, maybe pick up a side gig here and there, do some consulting, but I'm very happy in my job, or I need to keep my job or something like that. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to focus on my job. So I'm like, oh my God, I mean, if I focus down, and so that's the scare, that's the fear, right? That if you narrow down, you're going to just become too narrow. And usually that's not the case, right? So usually it's the opposite that happens. So we'll see. Whatever the results we'll have, I'll share with you. You'll see. But I think it's the right thing to do as well, that I can serve them better. I'm just going to go that way, right? So, and again, right, so what we started off with, boy, this is a great note to end things on. So end things where we started. So we started off with this idea of company of one, about less is more. And what this book says, more isn't better. Better is better, right? So I can say, oh, if I try to target both of them, I can get more folks sign up for this program. But more isn't better. Better is better. What's better for me? What's better for me is I can serve them better, right? I mean, that I can just focus and devote my heart and soul and everything on it. Like, how can I make them super successful? I think I can do that better when I'm just kind of on this side. I'm like, yep, I know what you need, and I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you, right? And then it's up to you, right? So, all right, folks. So, let's end it on that. I'm just going to quickly scan some comments, but I would encourage you. So again, even so what I said to people is that either if you are, well, it's possible that you already know that, oh man, yes, I want to be a consultant, right? So yeah, I'm done with this life, and yeah, for whatever reasons, I want to do that, right? So, and I hope you're doing it for the right reasons. So we've talked about that. I mean, you got to start with the end in mind. So what's important for you, right? So, and sometimes if it feels like it's money, I want you to ask the next question. It's like, well, if I have all the money that I want, that I desire, that I have in my head, the number, what would I do then? What kind of life would I create? And lead with that, right? So, if I'm in that, then I'm spending more time with family. Then just make that your true north, right? The North Star. It's like, yep, do it, or it's like, I want to travel more, or I want to, I don't know. So one person in group, they said that in 3 years from now, they want to captain a sailboat to, I forget the name of the islands, but some exotic islands, Martinique, somewhere, something exotic, and I want to captain a sailboat there. And so make that your goal. That's going to be so much more powerful than money, and not just that. You're gonna avoid ending up a depressed wreck. So it happens, folks, and I wish it doesn't happen to you. So I've heard these stories, maybe experienced it as well. Not quite, because I had really good coaches around me, but one of my mentors has a story where they earned millions of dollars one year, and they, by all means, externally, it felt like they had made it, right? But they ended up in severe depression because they had associated so much things with money, right? They had said that, I just need to make more money because when I make more money, I'm going to be more happy. I'm going to be loved by others, and all of this stuff, right? That's when I'm going to be worth it. That's going to show everybody that I'm worth it. And they realized that none of that shit happens, because it doesn't work like that. And in fact, it's quite the opposite. When you create those things inside you, then it starts reflecting out of work. So, right. So do it for the right goal. So maybe you're in that camp, or you feel a tug in your heart, right? This constant tug. Maybe you felt it for a while, where you just, I don't know. I mean, well, that's the best I can describe it. Like this tug, this pulls you, and you should respect that. Sometimes that tug, though, shows up differently. Instead of being a positive emotion, something which is kind of pulling you, it is like irritation or anger. That can happen too. But I also want you to acknowledge that and respect that as a sign. So, like if somebody is in a situation where they're kind of feeling trapped and they're feeling claustrophobic, right? And that's making them angry. It's possible that because you were meant for bigger things. Do you think I would have had the same impact, touched as many lives? Imagine the ripple effect that, frankly, I'm having, right? It's incredible. It's mind-blowingly incredible, right? could I have had that if I'd stayed inside Microsoft? Again, it's possible. There are some amazing people inside Microsoft doing some amazing work, affecting a lot of lives. So it's possible, but I don't know. I think, right? But depends on the situation. So if you're kind of feeling angry and bottled in, it's like, oh, if you just I don't know. I mean, right? So respect that too. So if you're in any of those cases, I would say at least go check it out. Watch the webinar. Just go to learnpowerbi.com and catch the replay. So we went live on Thursday, but the replay is going to be on till the enrollment to our Pro Plus program is open. So go and watch that. All right, folks. So we'll end with that note. More isn't better. Better is better. say that 5 times fast. And you got to figure out what is better for you and live your life that way. Awesome, my friends. Power on.